We find ourselves at Harvey Haddon Stadium here in Nottingham for the latest and final instalment of the Nottingham Caesars 2018 campaign. It's been a rocky road for Nottingham so far. They currently sit at 3-5, coming off a heavy defeat last week to the Sandwell Steelers, but they were looking to right that ship and aim for a 500 season. So, Harvey Haddon Stadium it is for this July fixture between the Nottingham Caesars and the Shropshire Revolution. I've been here a number of years and I've never seen the field looking quite as grassless as it does today. Afternoon, Carl.
Afternoon, Matt. Good to see you.
You too. We were, for those who have not watched us before, Carl and I were the pioneers of this particular venture way back 3 years ago now, Carl?
3 years ago, I remember it well, and I just hope we don't have one of those long injuries that we had to fill for. What did we fill for about 4 hours?
We were there. I think we were, and I think it was the same fixture. Was it Shropshire at that point as well?
I think it was Doncaster.
Doncaster,
yeah, it was Doncaster Mustangs. Yeah.
Anyway, great to have you alongside me today in the absence of George, and we'll hopefully bring you a very competitive fixture this afternoon. So, if we talk about Nottingham to begin with, coming off the back, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, coming off the back of quite a heavy defeat to the Sandwell Steelers, which leaves them with a 3-5 record. Sum up the season for me so far.
It's been difficult for the Nottingham Caesars. I think they've struggled really to compete with the top tier teams. You know, the Sandwell Steelers and the Leicester Falcons, and they've never really got close to them in the way that their opponent had, Shropshire, who actually did get close to Sandwell. Nottingham Caesars haven't got close in terms of the scoreline. They've done well against Doncaster. They've done well against Coventry. You know, the hapless Coventry Jets, who are kind of bottom of the table and not looking to get any stay up in this division. But other than that, it's been a disappointing season for the Caesars.
Shropshire, on the other hand, find themselves a game in front of Nottingham, currently 4-4. Similarly, I think to the Caesars, they've fared pretty well against the Doncaster and the Coventrys, and equally struggled against the two top teams in the division. Yeah,
absolutely. Although they did come close in week 3, it was a very close game against Sandwell, and we thought at that point that was a surprise 1-point win for Sandwell, and we thought at that point that they might be able to compete with the top tier, the Leicester and the Sandwell guys. But unfortunately, Sandwell came back and beat them soundly the next time in week 5, and that meant that they're a mid-table team. Sure. But they've done well. They've come up from Division 2 from last year, and they've done well, and hopefully they will stay up, at least from their perspective.
We'll hear from both coaches later on, and I know you interviewed the offensive coordinator for the Revolution, and he was saying that at the beginning of the season, just to survive was their goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they dominated Division 2 last year, and they did very well, and they were unbeaten during the regular season and went on to win against Gateshead, and that was the highlight of their time last year. This year, it's a different story for them. They've come up a division, and I think it's shown when they've played the likes of Leicester and Sandwell. They actually wanted just a 2-8 season, the coach was telling me. You know, they just wanted 2 wins just to stay up. They've actually done far better than that. They're competing with Nottingham Caesars. They're beating Doncaster. They're beating Coventry, and they look good in terms of building a foundation in Division 1 for next year.
And realistically, they could end the season 6-4.
They could, and that would mean they'd look, third in the table. That's a very good first outing in Division 1. Last time Shropshire came up to Division 1, they went straight back down again. Sure. This time, it looks like they're here and they're here to stay.
We'll focus on these two teams this afternoon now and their recent fixtures. Obviously, we've been enjoying some unseasonal weather, really, for the long spell as much of the UK has. But I think that has had a real impact, particularly on Nottingham over the last few weeks with their performances. Yeah,
they've struggled in the heat, and it means that when they've got a defensive and offensive line, those are the guys. It's the bigger guys that really suffer in the heat. And what we found is that a lack of players for whatever reason at those positions means that lots of players are playing both ways.
Absolutely.
And when you have that situation, when you get into the fourth quarter, it's a big struggle, just to stay on your feet, let alone do anything positive. So it's been a struggle, and I think with Shropshire's injuries, they may struggle as well today in terms of the numbers they've got.
Well, equally, looking on the Shropshire sideline during warm-ups, it appears they've only sort of brought 22 players down with them. I think Nottingham have only got 30 total today, but that's significantly more than Nottingham had last week. I think last week against Sandwell there were 2 or 3 players on the bench on the sideline while the other 11 were playing Ironman football.
Yeah, and it's strange to see that. You would expect a better commitment from the teams, throughout the season, and coming to the end of the season, you really want to finish strongly. And when you don't have a turn up for whatever reason, it has been a beautiful summer. We've had the World Cup.
Absolutely.
Head coaches have said that's affected the way players are turning up for training. They're not turning up. They're watching games, or they're turning up in not the best state of mind after they've watched the game late on and celebrated into the night with the England victories. So, it's a struggle. And when you have to play Ironman football, when you have to play both ways, things suffer. And the first thing to go is your poise, your technique, and then you get more and more exhausted as the game goes on. It's a tough job. You have to be very fit if you're going to play both ways.
Absolutely. And had that Wednesday night semi-final gone the way of England, this fixture, I believe, as with many of the fixtures up and down the country, would have been rescheduled and postponed.
Yeah, and that would have been interesting for everyone, wouldn't it? Just to see who would actually turn up on that game day that England were going to be playing in the final. Sure. But it never happened. No. Unfortunately, it never happened.
Unfortunately not.
So we don't have to worry about it. We could have a good week of American football.
Indeed. So let's focus on the fixtures from last weekend then. Both teams were in action. We began with the Nottingham Caesars travelling to the Sandwell Steelers. Not a great deal of positives really to come out for the Caesars in this one. They ended up on the wrong side of a 42-0 deficit and dropped them to 3-5 on the season.
Yeah, they have a lot of weapons, don't they, Samuel? A lot of offensive weapons. Tristan Varney, very good at quarterback, and you're just watching a receiver run a screen there. And this is maybe indicative of players being tired. You see a missed tackle there as the receiver goes into the end zone. And it's that sort of thing when you have a low squad numbers that really impacts. You can't pursue to the ball as you would want. You can't get men to the ball as you would want. And Samuel dominant in that performance last week.
Defensively as well, I know there were at least 2 pick sixes in that game, which again, not only does it not do anything for your offense, but particularly when you are struggling with numbers, that's just demoralising. It's hard to fight back from.
Yeah, Samuel have a good defence, good offence. I mean, they're a well-coached team. They're a new team, but they attract good players because they have a good coaching staff. And they've been, along with Leicester, the cream of the crop in this Division 1 South.
And interestingly, next Saturday, not wanting to go too far ahead of ourselves when we're only at the beginning of this particular game, but next Saturday evening we'll be covering the top of the table clash, which should be an absolute corker between the Leicester Falcons and the Sandwell Steelers.
Yeah, and you would hope that Sandwell can find a way to break the dominance of Leicester. I mean, again, watching Leicester last week play Shropshire, I felt like Leicester had a little bit on Sandwell as well in terms of that. So it will be interesting to see if Sandwell, given the season that they've had unbeaten other than to Leicester, that they'll be able to close the gap and really give us the game that we want for the title of Div 1 South champion this year.
First time around, Sandwell pushed Leicester close, but that was at the beginning of the season, and obviously for both teams it was a sort of precursor of things to come, and no doubt those top 2 teams, the Falcons and the Steelers, there you can see that one loss for the Steelers is at the hands of the Falcons, but it was, as I say, it was a very tight fought first encounter.
Yeah, it was, and I think that Shropshire did well to do that, and you can see they're in mid-table there at 4-4. They need to find a way today to win and they would like to finish their season with a winning season record. As would the Caesars, but that's not possible for the Caesars now. They can only go 500 for the season, and both of these teams are going to finish mid-table.
Sure, but I suppose looking at things equally from a Nottingham point of view, the fact that their Division 1 status is assured for next season, it's again we talk about and Nottingham and the fact we've covered them for a couple of years. Nottingham always seem to be close, just on the cusp of doing something, but not being able to push over.
Yeah, exactly. They're a mid-table team. They have been for some time. We would want them to compete with the big boys in this division. They've not been able to get over that hump for whatever reason. Maybe it's superstar quality, maybe it's just depth. But they need something to push them over that edge and get them into that place where they can actually compete for a Premiership spot. You have to have an appetite for it as well. Absolutely. Nottingham Caesars, they were in the Premiership and they struggled in the Premiership in the season they were there and came straight back down. Sure. And so you have to have an appetite for Premiership football, and that appetite is not just about this season and the season that you're competing. It's about what are you going to do in 2 years, 3 years? Are you going to get promotion and stay up in the Premiership in an extremely tough division in Div 1 North, which is where they would go.
Like
Premier North, rather.
Sorry, like anything in any sport, you've got to have, it's all well and good planning for that particular season, but there needs to be a medium-term plan, a long-term plan. And I know in the nature of the sport in this country, it's hard. It's hard to actually put that sort of vision in place. But I think the teams that are successful in the country haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, it's about putting together a programme of improvement year on year that takes you from Div 2, Div 1 and then through to Premiership football. That takes a long-term vision and long-term building of players and recruitment of players. You can take the Leicester route, which is to recruit players direct to your team, and you're, just because of your setup there and what you've got there, they've recruited all sorts of players from Americans, all from universities, from other teams. And if you're not taking that route, the recruitment route, then you've got to build a programme.
Sure.
And that takes time and it takes effort and commitment over a number of years, not just the season that you're in.
Well, equally, the way we spoke to Guy Kersey, GM of the Falcons, live on air a few weeks back when Leicester visited the season. Obviously, they're taking a completely different approach with the subs and the way that players are paying actually to be involved with the Falcons this year. Whether or not that's the future of managing to get more people, because apparently a roster of almost 60, 70 players over there in Leicester at the moment.
It raises money for the club. Any British American football team, the most of your money is going to come from subs.
Yeah.
Sponsorship is here and there, but
Sure.
That's your mainstay. If you can have players play more, even though they're not playing, then I guess you're selling a program, you're selling a badge, and you're selling good coaching that's going to put you in a good position later on in your football career.
You and I know this particular sport though as well. If you're brand new to the game, it's not a sport necessarily where you're going to be experiencing a lot of game time straight away. It's a sport where you have to learn your trade. You have to develop that experience in practice and almost earn your stripes before you get onto the actual starting list, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely right, Matt. Right, I think we're going to go to an advert, Matt, and then come back for some interviews with the coaches. So let's have an ad break and we'll bring you interviews with both coaches when we come back.
Spoken quite a lot about the Caesars so far this season.
Yeah.
Turn our attention a little bit to the Revolution. Last week they did go out and visit the Leicester Falcons, a game that you covered last week for us, and I think they found obviously equally as difficult as most other teams do who visit the East Midlands there.
Yeah, the Leicester Falcons were as billed, the Green Machine. They have a hell of an offence. They were struggling with their quarterbacks, actually, so I think they had their third string quarterback, who you can see on screen, handing off the ball. But they didn't need him. They had such a great running game with running backs like Ogundana and Marcus, who were just dominant in terms of the way they were able to hold possession. Shropshire really couldn't do much against their defence. I mean, later on in the game, Shropshire were always trying to go to their wide receiver, number 23, Mark Phillips, who finally got a touchdown towards the end of the game, which you'll see in the highlights. But it was Leicester for most of the game, the vast majority, and they just weren't able to compete with the class and the skill levels that these players have.
They generally just have athletes, don't they? I think about Taylor Brown out there, who pretty much runs the D from that safety position, and he's always near or thereabouts to play.
Yeah, he got a pick shut down. Actually, they were going to number 23, Mark Phillips, and he came all the way across the field playing that cover one position, where you can play sideline to sideline as a safety. And with such speed in the backfield, he was able to get that pick. You're just looking at Gabadon here up the sideline. He's another great player that they've brought in, and they really struggled. There were some good performances by Shropshire. Adam Naylor had a great game, number 12, defensive end. He had a couple of sacks and was all over the field for Shropshire, having to fill in at a number of different positions, including kicker. And I think you're just going to have a look at Shropshire's touchdown now, which went to Mark Phillips. So we're trying to get this this throw. You can see number 23 on the side there, just up the sideline, and Alex Wake dropping back, and they managed to connect and finally get away, and that was the only touchdown score for Shropshire. So it was a dominant performance, but they finished on a high with that last late touchdown. And they do have some skills. They have some weapons that Caesars will have to be very careful to try and contain today.
Sure. The one thing we're hoping for here this afternoon is a bit more of a competitive encounter, because the last few games here have been a little one-sided. So we managed to catch up with both coaches before the game to get their views on this afternoon's proceedings. We first managed to catch Coach Warner, head coach for the Nottingham Caesars. Good afternoon, Coach.
Good afternoon.
Sonny Harvey-Haddon again.
Yeah,
what's going on?
Don't know. Beautiful day for football, though.
So your last home game of the season this afternoon here, hosting the Shropshire Revolution. It was your first game against them up in Shropshire, and you came out on the wrong side of a 6-0 defeat against them, I believe. That was almost like your first pre-season game, though. What do you expect from the boys today?
Well, I'm hoping we'll put in a better performance than that. We did go into that game a little bit cold. We had quite a few new faces that maybe didn't really know what to expect in a proper game day situation, but we've trained really hard the last few weeks, put in some really good sessions. Hopefully we should give them more of a game today.
Sum up the 2018 season so far then. I think it's fair to say it's been a sort of up and down season. You've had some really good performances against the likes of Coventry and Doncaster, as you mentioned. And then on the other side of things, you've been made, with all due respect, to look quite ordinary by Leicester and Sandwell.
Yeah, very much so. But we don't like to dwell on the past. We look forward. We'll try and take lessons out of those defeats, as heavy as they were and as painful as they were. But every cloud has a silver lining.
I don't think, obviously, it was a heavy defeat last week to Sandwell, but as I've been speaking to some of your coaches, it was a very depleted roster. I think you only had, was it 1 or 2 people on the bench to sub in on, obviously, another hot day. How are you looking today? Should numbers be up again today? Good week of training?
Yeah, numbers should definitely be up this week. We've got a lot more offensive players available than we had last week, which was, again, another hot day. We had a lot of guys going both ways, playing all 3 phases of the ball game. But yeah, we should be okay today for numbers. Currently
sitting 3-5 then, I assume, with this one here today against Shropshire and then closing the season out away to Doncaster. You're very much hoping for a 5-5, 500 season?
Yeah, very much so. I think today's a winnable game. Obviously, we can't take Shropshire lightly. We can't look back at our previous meeting and think that it's going to be a walkover.
Anything particularly you've learned from that first Shropshire game, and obviously you're watching them play against the likes of the Steelers and the Falcons, that you think you might be able to exploit this afternoon?
I'd like to keep my cards close to my chest. But no, I think we've learnt a lot since that game. We've polished a lot of things.
And you feel you match up pretty well against the Revolution this afternoon?
Yeah, I believe so.
Brilliant. Well, as ever, I know you hate it behind camera, but thank you for your time. And I know your son's playing just behind us, so we'll give you the opportunity to get back out there and watch him. And best of luck this afternoon, Coach.
Thanks very much. I hope it wasn't him that made that big play then.
It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Take care.
Right, thanks very much.
And after speaking to Coach Vanden Warner, we spoke to the offensive coordinator for the Shropshire Revolution. Hi, Coach. Nice to see you. I'm here with Coach Neil Holchker from the Shropshire Revolution. Good to see you, Coach.
Good to see you. How are you doing?
So we covered the game last week at Leicester. So tell us what your feelings were after that game.
Well, to be honest, it was a pretty tough game for us. We kind of knew it would be. We've sort of come up into this division this year. We've had a few sort of trips to Div 1 previously. We've not done very well. So our plan this year really was to try and survive, something to build on for next year. Clearly feel that Sandwell, Leicester are the 2 sort of teams at the cream of the crop in this division. So it was always going to be a tough game. We were missing quite a few guys as well through injuries and other work absences. So it was a case, to be honest, of really trying to get through that one as best we can. Not an ideal scoreline. We lost another couple of guys to injury, but we kind of got through the game, put that week behind us and move on. And that was really what we were trying to do.
Yeah, we were watching the game. We saw a couple of key injuries. Is there anything that's going to affect performance today, do you think?
There is, unfortunately. We've still got a few guys working and on holiday. We lost 2 players for the rest of the season last week. We had Connor sort of tear his ACL, and unfortunately one of our receivers, Ben Martin, sprained his ankle. So unfortunately there are another couple of absences today, which is going to impact us, but that's football.
Yeah, and how's the training been in the run-up to this week? Has it been good, people down?
A little bit down, especially with the England game. We normally train on Wednesdays, you see, so especially with the England game having been on the Wednesday has really sort of caused us a few disruptions. But we're sort of prepared as we can be, we think. And we've achieved our goals so far this season. So whilst we don't want to be too complacent for the rest of the season, we've sort of achieved what we want to. So everything's kind of going well as it can, really.
Last time these two teams met, it was 6-0 to the Shropshire Revolution. It was a defensive battle. So as an offensive coordinator, how do you come in and score more points against a team like the Caesars defence?
I personally think the strength of the Caesars team is the defence. And they are good defensively, despite their sort of trouble with their offensive production. Just seemingly looking at the stats this year, the game last time it was freezing cold. The weather, I think, did play a factor. But I think it's going to be a different sort of game today. The weather's a lot better, but both sides probably not at full strength as they were at the start of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how different of a game it is from that game one, really.
All right, excellent. And just as a side note, you do some videos on YouTube. I've been watching some coaching videos. Tell us a bit about that if people want to find out more about Shropshire.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a hobby thing I was doing at the start of the season, really just to try and give people within the sport, but also new to the sport, just a bit of an insight into the Shropshire Revolution and kind of how we approach our pre-season. So under my own name, there is just a YouTube channel with about 3 or 4 videos on there. And so it just gives an insight really into the January to March period of the team, just kind of how we approach our pre-season training and the run-up to the pre-season games, yeah.
Excellent. And after this game, you've got one left. What are you looking to achieve out of these last 2 games, just to finish?
Well, we'd like to win them both. I mean, our goal when we sat down at the end of last season and the beginning of this season, the goal was to survive. So we would have been really happy with a 2-8 record, to be totally honest. We've exceeded that. We've surpassed our expectation. To be honest, we would like to finish 6-4. That's the truth of it. Don't wish to sound big-headed, but we think we're capable of achieving that. We do feel there is a clear gulf within the division between Sandwell, Leicester and the rest, but we want to finish best of the rest, so to speak, and that's the mindset we've got. That's how we're going to approach these last 2 games, and we're going to see what happens.
Excellent. Good to see that positive mindset. Good luck, Coach, today.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you. Thanks.
I love getting the insights of those coaches pre-game. It just gives you a real sort of feeling that obviously they've got the plans in place, but particularly the Revolution coach almost overachieved in his opinion this year.
Yeah, and I think he's right. They've come up from Div 2 and they've competed with mid-table and they've actually gone close at Sandwell in their first game. So that's a job well done for Coach Tonks and the OC and the DC staff there. For Shropshire, and that positive mindset is what you've got to have. It's nothing worse than the coach turning up and saying we're just here to take part.
Absolutely.
You'd be surprised if some coaches will do that.
Yeah.
And that's not the attitude you want, even against the Leicesters, even against the Sandwells. You want to come and compete. At least if you can't compete for the full 4 quarters, then you want to compete play by play.
And as a player, I mean, the longer you're involved with this game, you don't come out here unless you want to be part of things and want to compete, because it's not a sport that you can just half-heartedly get involved with.
No, it's not. It comes with a certain degree of risk to your own personal safety and body. So you want to be around a programme that has ambition, and that's clearly what Shropshire have, and that positive mindset at the end of that interview saying he wants to be 3rd in the division. They want to separate themselves from Sandwell or Leicester are going to get promotion. So Shropshire will be here next year. I've no doubt, and they want to separate themselves now from the rest.
Absolutely. That risk factor you mentioned was highlighted. You may have seen an ambulance drive past us earlier on in this pre-game show. There was a junior game here between Chester and the junior Caesars. Unfortunately, one of the Caesars players was laying prone prior to the beginning of the game, which is why we've got a slight delay on this one. So what do you expect from this encounter this afternoon? Do you expect a close one?
I do expect a close one, because I know how tenacious both of the defences are. I mean, the first game, as you know, Matt, was 6-0 to Shropshire, and it was a very close defensive battle. Now, I like those sorts of games because I'm a defensive-minded person.
Yeah.
If you, I'm looking. I know you don't, Matt. That's why I mentioned it. But I'm looking forward to that sort of game. It'll be tight. It'll be close, and it will come down to 1 or 2 scores, 1 or 2 plays in the moment when it really matters.
Hopefully so. Well, we can see that the captains and the referees are about to get the coin toss underway, so we will make our way to the commentary booth shortly, but I think weather will play a particular factor this afternoon, and looking at the sidelines, Nottingham might have just a slight advantage in terms of numbers.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Shropshire had a number of injuries to some of their key players last week against Leicester. They've bought a much smaller staff than they would normally come down, and so I think probably Caesars have the edge in terms of numbers. But Shropshire play with a lot of heart, so we'll see what happens.
For me as well, like you mentioned, the Shropshire's last sort of experience on the field was them scoring against the Falcons. The Caesars' last experience was that heavy defeat to Sandwell. So you might say psychologically, the travelling Revolution might be in a better place at the beginning of this game.
Yeah, I don't know how much I'd put on, how much strength I'd put on that. I think there's been a gap of a week. The two teams are ready to play. They know what's at stake. One wants to go 500, one wants to go 6-4, and that will motivate. It should motivate the players and the staff to come out.
So we'll hand over to the coin toss, and we will see you in the booth for the game shortly.
Caesars have the first half opportunity and will receive the ball. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Enjoy the game.
So welcome up to the commentary box. We've just seen the coin toss down there on the field. Would appear from where we are standing that the Caesars will be returning this opening kickoff, as the Shropshire Revolution will play from right to left as we look at things. How important, Carl, is it for the offence to make a stand at least? I mean, what do you deem to be a successful first offensive possession? Obviously, ultimately a score, but...
Well, the last game we saw against Caesars when they're playing Doncaster, they came out, ran that hurry-up offence, and they actually drove down the field the first two drives and scored on both possessions. Now, that's success. But what I would say against Shropshire is you're probably looking at a stronger defence. You want to make sure you're getting the offensive line are able to make some blocks, the quarterback feels comfortable with the football, you have a couple of handoffs and make some yards. You're looking really to settle everybody down and get them ready for the game. But I know from watching the Caesars previously that they will want to make an impact early on, so you might be looking at something deep on first or second down, certainly early on in the series.
Well, we do know that we have some, they mentioned about the O-line, we don't have the full complement on O-line. We've got Sean Endicott, who has been a cameraman for us and junior coach with the Caesars. He's kitted up today after leading the juniors this morning, so that offensive line is going to be tested as we just await the officiating crew to be ready. I think just sorting out the ball boys and the chain crew on the far side of the field there.
Yeah, offensive, defensive line is going to be absolutely critical today, as it is in every game. But when you potentially got teams and players that are playing both ways, you want to make sure that they're in a position where they can do well.
So while waiting for this one to start, get involved with us here at the show this afternoon. You can see the hashtag there in the top left of your screen, Not versus Shrew. We'd love to hear if you're watching us, either on your World Cup final build-up or if you're now completely disenchanted with the World Cup now that England have only managed fourth. But I mean, very briefly on that, if you asked for that at the start of the season, you'd have taken it, surely, at the start of the World Cup, rather.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not England? A great performance in there. I mean, let's be positive, no?
I know your sort of background a little bit is in the psychology of things. Do you buy into this? They had I don't know, we're talking American football, but just very briefly, do you buy into the England didn't really perform that well because of what was put in front of them? It was an easier route, or?
Yeah, let's come back to that. That's a good question. Let's come back to that one as you see the kick return here.
And it's an outstanding return, and it's up to just short of midfield, and that's Rob Hardwick, the veteran for the Caesars, who very much is the heart and soul of this outfit, who puts Nottingham in an outstanding field position for their first possession.
Nice return from Rob Hardwick here. He's that guy they like to go to on these kick returns. Gets the ball off to his right, gets a couple of good blocks. It's going to be critical for the blocking on kick returns, and Rob just scampers out of bounds with a nice return to put them in good field position to start this one. I think they're going to be on their what have we got, the 41-yard line, so it's an excellent return almost all the way up to midfield. 90-yard pitch, obviously.
Indeed. So first down Nottingham. We will see that familiar formation. Simon Denning in at quarterback for the home Burgundy Fire. He's got two receivers to his left, one down at the bottom of the screen, and then John Holmes running back alongside him. Immediately Denning goes to the air, he looks to his left and he floats the ball at the top, and he does have a man, but it just falls short of his intended receiver. And that intended receiver appears to be, is that 87? That's Danny Johns was the intended receiver on that one.
Yeah, and we said it, didn't we, at the top of the show, that you might see something deep early. That's what the Caesars like to do. They like to get a score early and then defend that score. That's what they did against Doncaster, and when they're successful, they do that. But again, you've got this hurry-up offense, so they're quick to the line with four receivers again.
So that four receiver set, as you say. Two to the top, two to the bottom. This time Denning tries to hand off, and it looks like a read play, but fortunately he mishandles that exchange. It did look like he was reading whether to give that to Holmes or not, decided to pull it, and then unfortunately just had to fall on it.
Yeah, Adam Naylor, number 12 for Shropshire. Watch him. He's coming straight off the edge to the top of your screen on the right-hand side. They run a three defensive line, and Naylor comes unblocked and just has a look at that football. Can he get on it? No, he can't. Denning just quick enough to rescue that, but that was dangerous for the Nottingham Caesars so early in the game. Shotgun snap with Denning having a look to his left, goes over the middle, but this one's incomplete. So that was 3rd and 15, so it looks like Nottingham may be in a position here to just punt the ball away, Matt.
Indeed, and a quick 3 and out. We mentioned about what will be a successful offensive series on that first possession, and I don't really think that goes down as one.
No, absolutely. They would have wanted to hook up on that first play, wouldn't they? They have a first play going deep, then the run to John Holmes, the muffed fumble, and then incomplete over the middle of the field on 3rd down. It's not the series that you want, but I mean the kick return's so good that hopefully they'll get some good field position out of this if they can pin Shropshire back. And
you and I were mentioning before we went on air, actually pre-game, one of the MVPs for the Caesars this year has been that man who's about to punt this ball away, Jack Winfield. He's the change of field position has been integral for Nottingham, not really losing by a lot more as that ball. He kicks a sort of a line drive off to the left, and again takes a Nottingham bounce, and just like that, the ball is inside the 10 at about the 5 of the Revolution, and there's that weapon for Winfield. Even though it doesn't put any points on the board, it does give that defence a lot to work with.
Yeah, you would have expected James, I think it was Joseph Knight there that was back to receive a Shropshire. You would expect him to come up and actually take the reception there and actually try and run the ball back, because you can't let Jack Winfield punt the ball at will all the way down to the 5-yard line, and it backs Shropshire up for their first possession. You just want him to come up, catch the ball and make some kind of return on that. So disappointing there for Shropshire. I mean, it was a good kick by Jack. It was kicked into space, and so the punt returner had to do some work to get up.
So we'll see the Revolution offence on the field for the first time, led by quarterback James Wildsmith. He's got a similar spread formation that is popular with apologies.
Alex Wake. Alex Wake is quarterback as he was last week, and the starting quarterback this week.
Apologies. Read 18 instead of 18 there. Thank you for picking me up. But on first down, the difference is they do manage to get positive yardage on first down, which makes that second down, opens the playbook up that little bit more.
Yeah, and that was Joseph Knight, who was on the punt return. We just mentioned him earlier. Joseph Knight playing running back today, and that was a nice pick-up on first down.
So Wake drops back, looks to his right. He's got a man, and he completes the pass for a first down. And his man tries to step. That's Chris Smith. Chris Smith does step, but then just puts his foot out of bounds.
Chris Smith unlucky there, because it looked like he was running that tightrope on the sideline. If he just was able to skip round that cornerback, he was gone. There was nobody there that was going to catch him. So this is a good start from Shropshire as they get the first down. And they're moving the ball well from really poor field position.
A lot of breathing room now for that Revolution offence. 2 men in the backfield this time, and the ball is handed off, and man bounces around to the right side. That's Ashley Holgate. Ashley Holgate, who picks up close to 7 yards on that carry. In fact, it will be 2nd and 3 upcoming.
Yeah, a nice play again by Holgate, just running to his right-hand side behind the pulling guards on that trap play, and makes some nice yards on second down. Don't know, the Caesars defence haven't turned up so far. We'd expect those linebackers to be more mobile and start making some tackles earlier.
And traditionally, the Nottingham defence is where it goes to his right once again and completes the pass once again to Smith. Smith's second reception on the day.
Completes the pass right in front of Rob Hardwick, who's a good cornerback. Rob playing him off slightly, runs that quick curl just for the 4 yards that he needs, catches the ball. Hardwick makes the tackle, but he holds on, and that's another first down for the Shropshire Revolution, who are now driving close to enemy territory.
Traditionally, the defence for the Caesars is their sort of go-to. It's their linchpin. It's what sets the tone for the whole outfit. I know you were involved with them for a number of years, both as a player and a coach. As the ball goes top over the head of Hardwick, and that is that man. We've mentioned his name twice already. Chris Smith goes in 50 yards on a beautifully thrown ball, and that's the opening score of the afternoon.
Rob Hardwick's going to be absolutely kicking himself on that one. I mean, Chris Smith catching 2 hook passes in those first series, obviously drawing Hardwick in. Maybe Hardwick thought it was going to be another hook, but this time Chris Smith, he does. He fakes the hook, then goes deep. Hardwick bites on it, and Chris Smith with the speed to beat him for almost 60 yards all the way to pay dirt, and Shropshire strike first.
And key to that, I was, as you were watching that replay, the offensive line. Wake had acres of time. There was nobody near him. Nice clean pocket, which gives him time to step up and deliver a beautifully placed ball. Hits him in stride, and he's off for 6. So Josh Wright attempting the extra point. This one's blocked, and it's still bouncing around, and it's eventually picked up by one of the Caesars, and he's got a lane down the sideline. He's still on his feet, and he stumbles, but he's on his feet at midfield, cuts back inside. He's losing steam a little bit now, but he does get back inside Shropshire territory, and there's a face mask on the end of that as well. A little bit of excitement and hopefully a bit of a momentum shift there as Joe Knott, I think that was 83. Is that 80? That might be 93, in fact. It is 93. Don't find it, that's Luke Wayne, don't find it easy to distinguish these black numbers on the burgundy shirts sometimes from way back here, but...
Yeah, it's a long way to run for 2 points on that. You pick up the ball at the 6-yard line and you're going to go all the way back, and you'll get 2 points if you get there, but they didn't. But it was not, and like you say, you know, Matt, that's more about the motivation, the momentum shift. You know, you get scored on, but you know, you're straight back into it, competing and able to pick up that and almost run it back for 2.
Like you say, shows that the heart is there and hopefully just lifts that Nottingham sideline. And actually where this flag is as well, this penalty should be assessed on the kickoff, which will, all being well, give Nottingham, once again, relatively good field position depending on the return. Let's have a word with our official.
During the return, personal foul, face mask by the kicking team. As this was the extra point by rule, that penalty is declined. The extra point is no good.
Did you know that penalties were always declined on extra points? Did you know that?
I'm going to say no. Did you?
I'm going to say maybe.
But did you?
No, I didn't.
No, there we go. So at least in that respect, we're equally as ignorant on that rule change. Or that rule, even if it hasn't been a change. But I haven't been involved with the game for as long as we have. I'm a little embarrassed to say we didn't know that.
We should be doing far better than that.
So when, therefore, is a penalty assessed on the kickoff? Because it happens.
This is a conversation we're going to need to follow up on.
Absolutely. Anyway, fast start for the visiting Revolution. They will kick off from their own 30-yard line. Hardwick back deep once again to return for the hometown Caesars. Let's see if the field position can be as positive this time. And it's a little jab of a kick that Hardwick once again picks up at his own 5, and he goes to the middle of the field. He manages to get through one little hole there, but then he's met just after the 25 at about the 26 when Nottingham will start again.
Yeah, it was like half a squib kick, wasn't it? Kicking into space and hoping for an odd bounce so that the receiver's going to struggle with it. Fortunately for the Caesars, it ends up in Hardwick's hands. He makes a decent return, and they're going to end up at the close to the 30-yard line.
Little tentative from picking his way through there as he approached that first line of his special teams unit, but maybe he's still blowing a little bit from getting beat on that long ball a couple of plays before.
You don't get the space, do you? You don't get the space if the ball's running towards you and it's coming slowly. You know that the players are going to be there, so you don't have time to look up and see where the hole is, so you kind of have to take it tentatively.
So Denning and the Caesars offence back to work. And Denning hands off, and there's an absolute crowd of Revolution players there, led by Lee Kazim, number 2.
Yeah, they sent Alistair Jarvis on the blitz right up the middle there, number 42 linebacker. He's actually trialling for GB at the moment, so good luck, Alistair, with your GB aspirations. But he comes right up the middle, and that frees defensive linemen, and there was just absolutely nowhere for the running back to go on that.
And the way that those defensive linemen were in the backfield as quickly, it almost looks like the offensive line might have been setting up a screenplay. But anyway, the ball this time is pitched, and it's over. Oh, it's not over the head. It's in fact a nice catch in traffic. And that is... that's Chris Peacock, number 85. Chris Peacock, a young lad whose first year with the Caesars, indeed. Another young man who I used to teach.
Yeah, and that's one for you then, Matt, that one. But it was a nice reception because you watch the defensive back, he's kind of waiting for the ball to come to him, and then the receiver just steps in front and snatches it away. Got to drive to that ball if you're a defensive back. I
tell you what, a nice clean hands catch, that one as well. Good hands, and we've... Coach Messam has been telling me how, and another reception, but how Peacock has really developed this year. He's not had a great deal of game time, but it's nice to see him getting some first team reps today.
Yeah, so that one I think was Charlie Patterson, number 17 on the reception. That gets these Nottingham Caesars moving. Maybe they needed the Shropshire score to motivate them, because now Denny's coming out firing all over the field and making completions.
So 2 completions in a row, and Denning drops the pass again, and he looks over the... to the left side of the field, and he had to get rid of that one quickly because there was pressure coming off the left side as Denning was looking there.
Yeah, that's Nathan Williams, his Shropshire defensive line. They do have a good defensive line, Shropshire, and it's been the strength of their team this season and last season. Just comes hard at the middle there, playing that tackle position, and Denning has to get rid of the ball early. There is a flag by the looks of things.
A flag on the play in the vicinity of either illegal contact or defensive holding. Let's have a listen.
Prior to the pass, holding, number 33, defence, 10-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Well done, Matt, you called that one?
Certain times it's almost like I've watched this game a couple of times before. You never know sometimes when those flags come down, particularly from up here, you never know what's going to be called, and a lot of times you are judging what the penalty is on the position of the flag.
Hey, if you get it right, that's 1-0 to you. Well done.
Oh, well, here we go. I like this. Maybe we can get a little graphic on the screen in terms of correct calls as Denning goes to his left and he hits his receiver again. And this has been a good drive for Denning and his receiving core. Positive pick-up on that one of 6 yards.
Yeah, Denning showing a lot of poise there as he had that blitzing linebacker in his face. I think that was Alistair Jarvis, who was putting him under pressure, and he just pooches that ball over the top. And if you can do that, there is space there behind that blitzing linebacker, exactly what Denning did on that play.
And number 42, I know exactly who he is, but the name is not on our roster, but that is Notts County assistant manager, as Denning hands the ball off this time and then fakes a little swing pass, and once again positive yardage, close to first down territory, goes Holmes. It'll be a 3rd and short now.
Yeah, that's the first we've seen of John Holmes. He's been that stalwart running back for the Nottingham Caesars. I think that's his first run of the day, and they've given him the first down. So moving the ball through the air and on the ground. This is good work from the Nottingham Caesars on their second series.
You do now, though, think that seeing as the Revolution scored last time out, they need to cap this drive with with some sort of score, and that pass over the middle there, if Patterson was the intended receiver, and you wonder, he seemed to hear those footsteps maybe.
In and out of their hands is so dangerous for an offense. You throw over the middle of the field when you're close to an opponent's end zone. There's so many more defenders. You can see them all crowding there around the ball, and if the ball goes up into the air, they're all converging on it. 32 there, the closest, but couldn't pull it in. That's Joseph Knight, who's also playing running back by the looks of things. So you're already seeing players playing both ways for Shropshire.
For me, though, that one particularly is on that's on Patterson. He knows he's running across the middle. He knows he's going to get punished if he catches that ball, but he's got to do his quarterback a favour there. So Denning on 2nd and 10 drops back. He looks this time to his left and he puts the ball up that almost looks like a punt. And it flies out of bounds. And if it had been a punt, it would be a good one because it flies out of bounds at the 1 yard line.
I don't know whether Denning did the right thing there, but Adam Naylor, number 12, was absolutely coming around the edge full speed and almost not got an arm to Denning's throwing arm here. You could just see it, just misses him, and Denning wisely throwing that ball out of bounds. One thing that Denning's done well this season, I think, is just managed the situations against these mid-table teams. He's managed the ball games well.
where he has come unstuck is he's the interceptions he's thrown while I've been in the booth here have very much been that classic not seeing the underneath linebackers, obviously being too fixed on his receivers there and almost throwing blind. And I mean, it's easy for us to stand up in a commentary box and say that's the problem, but when you've got the game full speed there in front of you and you're transfixed on your player, it's easily done.
Yeah, and it depends on the formation that the defence are running. Against Leicester, they play 3 defensive linemen and 5 linebackers. It's very difficult. There's so many linebackers at that second level. Quarterbacks have to be very careful if they're throwing those mid-distance passes.
So we've got a little bit of a stoppage here, and I think that may well be for drinks, if nothing else, just purely because the temperature down there, while we were doing our pre-game show, I could feel myself melting. And at this point, it might well be good to try and catch up with what's going on around the country. So, in the Premiership North, with Tamworth Phoenix are taking on the Manchester Titans, and they're currently, as you may expect, 49-13 ahead in the third quarter. The London Warriors have a walkover over the Farnham Knights, and the London Olympians taking on the Bristol Aztecs in the south, yet to score there. In the NFC 1 North, the Northumberland Vikings handing a shellacking there to the Gateshead Senators, 49-0 ahead at half-time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Some big scores there, aren't they?
Is that...
Let's have a look at the touchdown then. You can just see at the top of your screen.
Look at the time he's got.
Yeah, lots of time, and you can just see, we talked about the fact that Hardwick bit on that little hook. He thought that Chris Wright was going to come back and catch the ball as he had done on 2 previous plays, and Wright's just got the speed to get, Smith, not Wright, Chris Smith has got the speed to get past him. Rob will be really disappointed with that.
You can also see from that, obviously, as well, Smith, the receiver, has positioned himself perfectly. He's outside of Rob Hardwick, so Rob's got to make a decision whether to follow the receiver, to look back to the quarterback, and as he looked back to the quarterback, he didn't locate that ball, and it's much easier then for the receiver to run onto that. Get involved with us here at the show if you can. We'd love to hear if you're watching us this afternoon, if you're out in the garden preparing a barbecue, if you're preparing for that France-Croatia game that kicks off at 4 o'clock. Here's that muffed extra point as well, which was dropped on by the Caesars, and actually a really tasty little return. And like you say, a lot of effort for what would have been 2 yards, and at that point you thought he may well be going.
Yeah, Chris Smith was the guy that actually scored the
number
touchdown.
Number 95 of Nottingham is now playing number 59.
Okay, so it looks like a shirt change there. But Chris Smith was actually the holder on that snap, and maybe he was tired from his exertions in scoring the touchdown because he didn't manage to hold on to the ball. It was a muff snap, and the Caesars got an opportunity to get that 2 points. 3rd down and 10.
So here we go, 3rd and 10 for Nottingham. Denning drops back, he's under pressure, and again that ball is lofted up, and that's Denning thrown off the back foot, but that's purely because of the pressure of that left-hand side of the Nottingham offensive line, the right-hand side of that Shropshire defensive line.
It's that man Adam Naylor again, number 12. He's playing just another fantastic game. He just comes free off the edge, and the Caesars have got to do something to get him blocked. You just see the speed underneath the pads of the offensive lineman and right in Denning's face, and that is classic defensive end play. Caesars got to get that blocked if they're going to make any more grounds to that side of the field.
So the one consistent highlight of Nottingham this season has been Winfield, and with his punting, but also his field goals and extra points, and he's on to attempt another one. This one is up, but this is pushed wide to the right in terms of the Caesars' perspective, and what was a promising offensive series, and they will take a lot from that, unfortunately comes up empty, and Shropshire will take over for their second possession of the afternoon.
Yeah, some good momentum to start that, some good driving early. They were throwing the ball all over the field, Denning really on point, and then the pressure from Shropshire as that defensive line said no more, and we got 2 pressures from Naylor. I
am by no means an offensive line guru, but having watched that last 3rd and 10, the left side of that Nottingham offensive line, the left tackle literally came straight up, and for me he's got to be stepping out to his left as a first step to try and at least push that defensive end wide.
Yeah, Naylor's got good speed, and he's going to do that all day unless they can get that fixed. They'll either leave a running back in there if the tackle's not up to it, or find a way for the tackle to move his feet quicker.
So on come Alex Wake and the Revolution offense for their second offensive series of the afternoon. Similar formation to last time. They've got those 2 running backs, 2 receivers to the left, 1 to the right, and Wake looks behind him and hands off to his back, who just gets about back to the line of scrimmage before he's met by Andrew Wilkins,
Yeah, Wilkins and Ashley Matthew coming up for the tackle. It's interesting because they've actually got number 77, have the Shropshire Revolution, in the backfield there, and that is David Trevor, who is a big guy trying to get 2 blocks on there, but the defensive line do enough to slow the running back up, where those linebackers can come in and ensure that tackle is made for a loss of a yard. So 2nd and 11.
As Wake drops back to pass, he looks to his right, and there's that hook pass again with Hardwick, and this time Hardwick does manage to snag his man, but not before he's picked up 7 yards. It'll be 3rd and 3 for the Revolution.
So this is turning into a nice little battle, isn't it? Rob Hardwick against Chris Smith. I'm sure Hardwick, who gets a lot of interceptions, he's a guy that has a nose for the football. See if Hardwick can get his own back as this game progresses. But Chris Smith with that other little hook, and maybe they're setting Hardwick up for that deep pass again by throwing these little hook passes.
So 3rd and 3 Shropshire, and Rob, being this heartbeat of the team, will want to lead by example and try and shut that option down, as this time Wake goes to his left, and he has a man, but it's in and out of the hands of the intended receiver, and that's Mark Phillips.
Yeah, Mark Phillips was the scorer you saw earlier in our pre-game show. You saw Mark Phillips score that only touchdown that they scored. Mark Phillips has got some good speed. I've been surprised by Chris Smith. We didn't see him last week, so Chris Smith and Mark Phillips, a couple of good weapons there for Alex Wake to use, and he's certainly going to work early to try and get the ball to them. Interesting
whether or not Wake was looking to try and go to Kieran Baxter, who run out into the flats. Baxter didn't get his head round quick enough, but he was open at the time, and then Wake decided to try and pop that ball downfield. But anyway, it brings up 4th down, and it's...
The strategy here has got to be for Shropshire to score as many points as they can early on in this game, given the numbers that they have on their sideline.
So the punt will be back. It's a nice snap, but that one's stopped before it's had a chance to begin, and Hardwick takes his mouthpiece out and has a breather.
False start?
It would more than likely be the case. Ordinarily that wouldn't be stopped for anything other than that at that point. False starts are relatively easy to call as well, so if this is the case, you won't be getting one on your tally for this.
I think I came in first, man.
False start, 51. Offence, 5 yards, remains 4th down.
And that's 1-1.
That is 1-1. Still waiting for the graphic. I can see our producer is not doing a lot, and I've been given the confirmation that we may not be getting the graphic on that this afternoon. But nevertheless,
the game within the game. So it's 4th down again on this punt.
4th down, the snap is up, and it's a nice high kick, and Hardwick has to trot back. He'll let it bounce, and it takes a Revolution bounce, and actually the sun is right in Hardwick's eyes, if you can see where those shadows are, so probably wise to get out of the way. But Nottingham will take it for their next possession, just inside their 20-yard line. Has this one gone how you expected it to begin with?
I said it was going to be a defensive battle. Other than that long touchdown, I think it probably has gone the way that I thought it might, with certainly from Shropshire some good defensive plays early from that defensive line, with Adam Naylor bringing the pressure. I think the Caesars have shown some good signs on offence. We would hope that they can build on that for this 3rd series as they come out.
Bring you a couple of other scores from this particular division. Obviously we know it's 6-0 here to the Revolution. Out in Sandwell, the game unfortunately has been called at half-time, as the score was 57-7 at half-time in favour of the Steelers. So unfortunately Coventry have called that one, understandably, due to player safety, no doubt, in this heat particularly. And then the other one in this one, the Leicester Falcons visiting the Doncaster Mustangs, and Leicester currently find themselves 28-0 ahead as Denning looks out. Oh, and that one is almost intercepted. And if that had been picked off, that would have been 6 points for Alistair Jarvis.
Yeah, he's the GB player we mentioned earlier, Matt, and he's an excellent linebacker, and he gets a good read on this. Drops to his hook position. You can see his eyes have gone wide to the ball, and then he drives to the football, which is what you're taught to do as a defensive player who is defending the pass. And Alistair disappointed with himself that he wasn't able to drive harder on that and take that for 6.
It would have been if he'd have managed to secure that one, but nevertheless Nottingham survived. It's now 2nd and 10. That similar spread formation as this time the ball is handed off, and Holmes gets a little bit of a seam there, and he gets close to 1st down yardage. It may even, no, he's going to be spotted just short, but it's a good run on 2nd down for Holmes.
Yeah, that's nice, and it shows that, you know, whilst the pressure was coming off the edge from Shropshire, Holmes able to keep his feet. The handoff this time was solid, and he's just able to get a push behind the offensive centre and guards.
Speaking to the coaching staff for the season a couple of weeks back, when they came off the heavy defeat to Leicester here, they mentioned about just pulling the playbook back, and that is up, and it's caught by Chris Peacock. And Chris Peacock wasn't the intended receiver, it managed to work back to the ball, and he is a young man who is very hungry to get involved, and I do believe that will be marked for a first down.
Caesar's very, very lucky there to get away with that one. Again, the ball tipped up. Denning under pressure. 42 tips the ball in fact, it might have been tipped by a defender.
It was tipped by Lee Kazim, number 2.
Yeah, and 24 can't get his hands on it, and Chris Peacock coming up with the reception there. Good reactions there from Chris.
Lovely to see. Again, I say it's not an easy position I used to play receiver, and to actually say to yourself, I'm going to go and get, you've got to have a desire to get that ball and not be bothered about your own personal safety, and just know that when you've got that ball in your hand, you are a target. I know you obviously, as a player, were the person who would target those receivers and running backs, and as Denning again looks for Peacock down this sideline, oh my goodness, that was almost incredible as Peacock stretched out his right hand, just couldn't pull it in, but for a second there thought he'd made a miracle grab.
Peacock's confidence growing after that reception, and he just goes for that right hand, one-hander. Why not? I mean, Denning puts it pretty much in the only place that the receiver can catch the ball, which is down that sideline. Anything inside, and you're looking at those defenders turning around, and that's a close thing for Chris, isn't it? He tries to do a one-handed catch, and he almost pulls it off.
What a great effort. That's the one I taught him. But anyway, Denning drops back, and he has got his man this time. Patterson makes the catch on that one that he dropped earlier on, and so kudos to Patterson for coming back over the middle, making the reception and getting close to first down yardage, and a flag there as Patterson stands up minus his helmet.
Yeah, catching the ball over the middle of the field there used to be something you dream about as a linebacker, to get that hit on the receiver.
I used to love it. Not.
Patterson makes a good play there in terms of snatching the ball out of the air, keeping it safe, and then going to ground.
After the play was over, personal foul, face mask. Number 8, defence. 15 yards added to the end of the run. Automatic first down.
That's called on James Wildsmith, and that not only is a nice reception between Denning and Patterson, but another 15 yards added on to the end as well. So once again, Nottingham rolling. And as you say, this is a good momentum builder for the Caesars.
Yeah, Denning doing well so far. Other than those tip passes, he's really put the ball on the money. And the Caesars are into enemy territory.
A little bit of confusion here as tight end, actually the slot receiver, comes back to this right-hand side to balance things up as Denning drops again. And he's looking, and he assumed, I think, his receiver was going to the corner there, but the receiver had other ideas.
I think he can feel Naylor coming off the edge yet again. Number 12 coming off the edge, Adam Naylor, with the pressure on Denning. He saw it, just got rid of the ball. Don't know whether the receiver was running the wrong route there as well. So this will bring up a 2nd and 10 for the Caesars.
So yes, I was mentioning before that tip pass that Peacock managed to haul in, that Nottingham had talked about really scaling back their offensive playbook and just making sure that they maybe even just got 6 to 8 offensive plays where they could execute them well, and if they felt pressure from the edge, then obviously work up the middle and vice versa. The ball this time is going up top again, and that one is almost intercepted by Kazim. Intended receiver was that number 42 again, unfortunately not on our roster this afternoon. We'll try and find that name out for you because it looks like he's going to be an integral part moving forward today.
Yeah, Kazim just getting a left hand to that football and just knocking it away at the last minute, so it was a nice play by Kazim, good position.
The difference between Denning throwing that ball and a Varney or the Leicester quarterback is that that ball seems to float a little bit from Denning, whereby there'd be a little bit more velocity on it. But that's a nice ball down the middle, but over the head of Patterson, and that one will fall incomplete for 4th down. So yes, and again, it's more often than not the pressure that Denning feels, but he's often thrown off his back foot and lofting the ball rather than particularly delivering it with velocity after coming onto that front foot.
Yeah, we've seen him stand in the pocket against the blitz with Naylor in his face and throwing that little screen pass, and that's really what Denning's got to continue to do. But he's making the adjustment from flag football that he played for a number of years last year and the year before, but we're coming to the end of the season now and he's surely used to that contact, big bodies around him. You've got to stand in there, as you say, plant your foot and really get leverage on the football to get it where you want it to go.
How much do you buy into, being a defensive-minded player, how much do you buy into the bend but don't break philosophy? Obviously Nottingham have built that momentum, but again come up empty. Is that a plus for the offence, or is that a more of a plus for the defence? As that ball is tipped, sorry Carl, ball is tipped off Winfield's foot, and the Revolution do manage to drop onto it and secure possession. Sorry, so...
It's that man again, Adam Naylor, has come off the edge there and got the block. And he is causing havoc at the moment for this Nottingham Caesars offence. In terms of your question, Matt, the bend don't break. I mean, the thing with it is when you get into the red zone, the 20 yards and in, the field becomes a lot more crowded for an offence. So oftentimes you'll get a pick, a turnover as a defensive player, as a defensive coach. And then people say, well, you're a bend, don't break off defence. I'm not sure any coach kind of says at the beginning of the season, you know what, I'm going to be bend, don't break. I'm going to give them 70 yards, and when they get in the red zone, we're just going to pick it off. It kind of happens, but it does. I suppose it points out the strength of a team playing when they're backed up in their own end zone or in their own red zone.
For me, the bend, don't break approach as well means that your defence is on the field for longer, and ideally, you don't want that either.
Yeah.
You want that defence leaving the field as often as you can, and
ideally you want to be a break then break defence. I mean, bend,
break bend.
Then break the offence.
Break, yeah. So that is the end of the first quarter here in Nottingham, with a tight game as we have suggested. And looking down at the scoreboard, there is no score on there at the moment, but indeed the score, as you can see on our screen, is the hometown Nottingham Caesars 0 and the Shropshire Revolution 6. So a little more competitive than we've seen of late down here at Harvey Haddon, but signs that Shropshire, particularly offensively, might just be edging it.
Yeah, I think so. And this was the score in the first game, wasn't it? So I hope we don't stay with just 6-0.
Alex Wake, quarterback again. He hands this ball off on first down, and it's a minimal gain, but it keeps that defence honest at the very least, and means they will play tight to the line of scrimmage, which will then allow Wake to find the likes of Chris Smith deeper down the field.
I just worry about this Shropshire team getting tired in the second half for having to play both ways. I mean, at the moment, they're competing well, and yeah, I think you're right, Matt. I think they do have the edge, both in terms of offensive numbers and in terms of how their defence has played so far.
Wake drops back, looks to his left, and he has to get rid of that one, but it's caught, and it's caught for a nice pick-up, bounces off one tackle, and picks up a first down, gets out of bounds close to the 30-yard line, and that's that man again. That's Mark Phillips.
Yeah, Mark Phillips just running what looks to be a little hook play. Again, catches the ball and is able to use his feet to get some more yards.
Our first contact of the afternoon on the social media, counter tenor 1. Looks like today's game is going to be competitive. That's what we're hoping for, and at the moment, that is the way it's going. Nice of you to join us, and hope you're enjoying the coverage. So first down, Shropshire. Wake just gets last-minute directions out to his receiver, and that's Kieran Baxter out there, just taking his final instructions. 2 receivers left, 2 right, that one running back, and it's that one big running back. It's that offensive lineman. As the ball goes on a jet sweep at that time, but once again, it is whistled dead before Phillips has time to get anything going.
Yeah, they're trying to get the ball to Mark Phillips in Mark Phillips'
Prior
hands
to
as
snap,
much as they
false
can.
start, number 82, offence, 5 yards. It remains first down.
I'm calling that as a false start, by the way. So that's 2-1 to me.
I'm not sure you get points if you call it afterwards. Yeah, they're trying to get the end around to Mark Phillips there. Get almost the lineman there, David Trevor, gets in his way. He kind of shoves him out of way, but it's all to no avail anyway, as it's a false start.
By the way, my booth, my rules. 2-1 to me.
Your booth.
So, first down.
The game within the game.
First and 15, Shropshire. Similar formation. That man providing some security there as Wake does escape the pocket and fires downfield and keeps his eyes downfield very well. Hits that man Chris Smith for a 14-yard, maybe 15, and where the official is standing, and he is signalling first down Shropshire. So Wake does well to roll out of the pocket to his right, keep his eyes downfield, and hit Smith for 14 yards.
Yeah, it was a nice rollout, and Smith keeping the play alive here. You'll see Smith closest to you. The receiver just running up the field, runs that little hook pass, and then sees that his quarterback's in trouble. Just keeps moving towards his quarterback, giving him a target, then goes deep, and Wake able to hit him. I don't know what the defender's doing there. Too much distance. Again, Rob
in front of Hardwick
will
again.
be wanting to frustrate that more than he is currently.
And that's going to be. It's not. Nothing. It looks like. Although I can't see any flags down. If I'm honest, can you see a flag on the field there? I can't see any laundry down there at all. So whether or not, one way or another, offense or defense moved definitely before the ball was snapped. But Odd one, that.
Alex Wake and Chris Smith seem to be the only ones playing in this one. Offensive line don't seem to move. The right side of Shropshire's line hardly moves at all. Wake keeping the play alive and just goes to his deep threat, Chris Smith.
Adam Burton definitely seemed to jump there as the Nottingham defensive line stepped over the neutral zone, but definitely nothing. Watch here, we've got it again, look, if you see.
Blitz from the Caesars on this one.
And it's picked up, and there's Phillips with the ball, and Phillips is pushed out of bounds, but not close enough to worry the first down marker. It'll be third down upcoming, 3rd and 3, maybe a third and a long 3, call it 4.
So Nottingham Caesars running with that 3-man defensive line. In fact, they've got one defensive lineman who's in a 2-point stance, but they bring extra pressure with the linebackers. They bring 2 linebackers and drop Ashley Matthews. But Wake, even under that pressure, is able to get the ball to Phillips, who comes back to the football. Makes a nice play for them.
Interesting you picked up on that, because I was thinking, other than that one deep ball, that's a good hit up the middle. Running back picks up 2 yards, but that is going to bring up 4th down. You'd expect from here that they may well go for it, given the fact they're in front. And I think that was number 82 on the carry that time. That's Ashley Holgate. And they are indeed going for it, looks like they're going for it, unless they're going to try and make the Caesars jump. So 4th and 2.
They've got David Trevor in the backfield. Watch him, see if he can make that key block as they hand.
And he actually gets the ball, and he stops short of the 4th down. The first down marker rather, and then the whistles come in, and that's going to be a turnover on downs and a big boost for that Nottingham defence.
Well, you have to ask the question whether David Trevor's the right man to run with the football there. I mean, on 4th down you want to give it to a running back who maybe they've been getting him some reps in the backfield, but I would have expected him to use him as a blocker and just give it to a running back who can get them the first down, maybe Holgate. So they'll be disappointed with that, but that's a great boost for the Caesar. Big man running with the football. If you're able to bring him down as a defense and gang tackle like that, then it just builds your confidence in, you can see not much of a threat there.
Importantly, again, though, I didn't see who the first man was to make the hit, but he stopped him in his tracks. Hit him, squared him up. It would have been an opportunity for Trevor to roll one side or another, but the way that form tackle was made, squared him up and then waited for his mates to come and finish the job.
Yeah, and just because you're big, you still got to have technique, got to run with the ball with technique. Otherwise, you're going to fall to a man that's got lower leverage position. Low man wins.
So, whoa, and it's a little trick play, and that doesn't really work, unfortunately. Denning was trying to sell that snap had gone over his head, but those Revolution defensive players didn't bite on that, and Holmes is dropped for a 3-yard loss.
We've seen Tom Brady do that a couple of times, I think, trying to snatch something out of the New England Patriots playbook there, and to no avail.
Never seen it on first down, but nevertheless. 2nd and 11 after that loss of 1 yard by Holmes. I was saying on that last Revolution possession, other than the long ball to Smith, every pass that's been completed has been receivers coming back to the ball, hook patterns, or actually working back to the ball to help the running back out as Patterson comes in motion. And it's a fumbled snap again, and Denning just has to eat that one that time. And
Denning just holding the ball out, and as Patterson runs past it, just knocks the ball out of Denning's hands. Really unfortunate. We've seen 2 fluffed snaps like that, and that's just teams defeating themselves.
Not sure whether that was intended to be a jet sweep to Patterson or whether or not it was a fake where Denning was wanting to pull that ball back. Danny Johns was screaming down the field on this nearest side to you on a streak play, a fly pattern, and it brings up 3rd and long.
I don't know, Matt, but maybe I'm old-fashioned, but shouldn't you fake it after you've run it?
You should ideally, yeah. Oh, and John's the intended receiver once again, and that one's almost intercepted by James Derry, number 24 for the Revolution. A very quick 3 and out will bring Winfield back to use his leg, hopefully get some air under this one, because now the Revolution are looking into the sun as they receive this punt.
Well, this game's currently turning into a repeat of the first game with 1 scorer on the board from Shropshire, and then both offences' efforts being frustrated as they move the ball down the field. So there is signs of life in both offences, but no points other than the long pass to Chris Smith from Shropshire.
So here goes Winfield again, looking to dig the Caesars out of a hole after they stopped the Shropshire Revolution on 4th down in their previous possession. It's a nice snap, gives Winfield time. The ball is a nice high kick. Let's see if the kick coverage can get there, and it takes a Nottingham bounce, and it continues to bounce, now starts to head back Nottingham's way, and it's down at the 24-yard line where Shropshire will begin again.
Yeah, again, no punt return, so these kickers just having their way on the field here, and both punters doing a good job in terms of switching that field position. So far we've seen some good punts.
Let's have a look around the country again. No, it's a full time in Tamworth as the Phoenix put up another 50 burger, 56-13 victors over the Manchester Titans. In the NFC 1 North, the Vikings, the Northumberland Vikings, 56-0 ahead of the Senators. The old Gateshead Senators in the 4th quarter. The Leeds Bobcats on the wrong end of a 67-0 defeat to the Yorkshire Rams. Lots of games not particularly close this afternoon. I can see on my screen there at least 5 little emojis of burgers against 5 scores. Sandwell, we already mentioned 57-0 victors over the Jets, which was called at half-time. So let's get back to this one and see what Shropshire can do as Wake hands off over to his left-hand side. And that once again is Ashley Holgate, who begins out to his left, tries to cut it back infield, and is met after a pickup of a few inches.
Yeah, captain of the defence, Ashley Matthews, Bash Matthews on the tackle there, makes just tracks the runner, and as the runner turns back inside, that forced responsibility on the outside of the defence, turning that runner back inside, and Ashley there to meet him. Exactly the way you draw it up as a defensive coordinator.
2nd and 9, Shropshire. 2 receivers right, 1 left, 2 men in the backfield this time for Wake. Defenders, particularly linebackers there with Bash threatening to come through, and he just does come through, and looking to this side again, and that ball is caught beautifully between 2 defenders. I think it is being called. Is it being called complete or being called incomplete? And there is a flag.
There's a flag on the field, and I think they're still going to talk about whether it's a reception. But Mark Phillips, he's a danger man. You know, he scored against Leicester. It was the only score that Shropshire got last week.
I've got this one. Man stepped out of bounds and was the first man to touch it before, as he came back in.
I feel like you're going out on a limb there, man.
Well, I do, but the way that the ball's coming back, I can't see, unless it's going to be offensive pass interference, one of the two. Although the ball is being spotted in the same place that it was. Let's have a listen.
An originally eligible receiver stepped out of bounds, came back in, was the first to touch the ball. Penalties lost it down at the previous spot. 3rd down.
You got to give me that one.
All right, I'll give you that.
You got to give me that one.
That was a good call, Matt. It was a good call. It was the wrong call by the refs, but a good call by you, Matt. Well done.
So 3rd down and long as Wake comes this side, and that ball has played very well that time by Hardwick. Smith was the intended receiver once again on a little hook route, but Hardwick just waited and met the man as the ball arrived.
Yeah, Hardwick saying, not this time, sunshine. You've had enough and no more, and drives well on the ball, attacks the basket as the ball comes in. He's got that left hand there to make the tackle if he doesn't manage to get it, but that right hand goes over, and that's exactly the way you coach it. That's a good play by Rob. Maybe he now has the what he needs in terms of being able to cover this Chris Smith receiver.
You can see though, even on there, when the ball was in the air on that replay, Rob was a long way off. He was given a big cushion, not wanting to get beat deep once again.
Yeah, and I mean, it's difficult to read a receiver whether he's running that hook or going to go deep, fake the hook and go deep, and Rob's going to need to work with that receiver and get those tells until he's able to read what the receiver's doing.
So 4th down, Shropshire, another good defensive stand from the Caesars, and acres of time to punt, and that ball is up, and it'll, I would have thought, be left now, and it is. It's Chris Peacock who slams his helmet in disgust at himself. He maybe feels he could have got under that one and made something happen, but there were 3 Shropshire kick coverage men down there pretty quick, so I think Chris probably made the right decision.
Yeah, Naylor just doing a great job here. You can see the slight delay. He knows there's no pressure there, so why not give your team more opportunity to get down the field? They have more time to get off that line of scrimmage, run down the field and cover the kick. So Naylor delays it. There's no pressure, no rush, and makes a nice kick.
Once again, we spoke about Winfield and his ability to switch the field. Naylor has done exactly the same there, as Nottingham will start this next possession just outside their own 10-yard line. Still trailing 6-0 in this one. Coming up close to half-time in this NFC 1 South clash.
See if the Caesars can get a score going into the half, make this... it's a competitive game. It's been a good first half, but I'd like to see that score from the Caesars just to give them the boost they need going into half-time.
Good positive run on first down there from Holmes. Picks up for 4 yards. Looks like it's 3 from where that down marker has been positioned. But nevertheless, anything positive on first down is better than nothing as a Revolution player lies prone on the floor. Gives us an opportunity to let you know about our next fixture here with Onside Productions. We'll be doing the Saturday Night Lights game next Saturday, the 21st of July, out in Leicester for that top-of-the-table clash between the Leicester Falcons and the Sandwell Steelers. Both teams scoring points at will over the other teams in the division, and let's see what they can do against each other.
Yeah, that's going to be a really exciting game. You would hope that Sandwell can be competitive and maybe even get the win. They have improved as the season has gone on, have Sandwell. Leicester have been dominant right from the start. So you would hope that Sandwell can really be competitive with Leicester and take the division all the way down to the wire.
Absolutely. It's kind of nice when those sort of fixtures get slated for the end of the season, particularly with both teams being a juggernaut offensively all the way through. And yeah, I can confirm that is a 6 p.m. kickoff next week in Leicester. And we will be covering that for you with Onside. It promises to be a real exciting affair.
Leicester, of course, with the home advantage on that one.
And Leicester stole the home advantage away from Sandwell when they played them earlier in the year and beat them. But it was a close one. Very, very, very close, very competitive between the first meeting, and promises to be again. Also give you the opportunity to get in touch with us here at the show this afternoon. If you're enjoying this matchup, if you're watching from Shropshire, if you're unable to make the journey down to Nottingham, I don't blame you. If you would rather watch on the TV from the comfort of your own garden, get the ball fired up, and lots of sport happening this afternoon. I know there's only so this is the highlight of the sporting calendar in the UK today. I mean, I think there's a Wimbledon final. I think the World Cup finals on, but
MotoGP.
MotoGP. But other than that, I mean, there's nothing really to divert your attention.
Got to come to the top of your priority list, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, my lad's currently in a swimming gala, actually in the pool here at Harvey Haddon, but I've
You're winning Dad of the Year again this year.
I tell you. I must please just rectify this, justify this. It's an all-weekend gala. I was there all day with him yesterday. My wife's there with him today, so we are a very supportive family, and hopefully my son Dan's doing his utmost to carry on that Walker sporting tradition, which currently stands at 0.
I'm sure he'll do well, and we'll be rooting for Dan as well.
We'd mentioned, actually, Carl, obviously it's been 3 years since you and I were together in the booth for that first ever outing against when Nottingham played Doncaster, and at that time we had to fill for a number of hours due to an injury on the field. We're currently experiencing a similar situation now. And
it's the curse of the W's in the booth, isn't it? I'm not quite sure what it is, but this looks like another serious one.
It unfortunately does. So how's your life been for the last 3 years?
That's good.
Enjoyed yourself?
Nice of you to call.
I know you obviously you got yourself married there to the lovely Nikki, and
I did.
That was with
married. It's been a busy 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously been waiting for this highlight to get back in the booth with you, though, mate.
Well, I understand that's why you've sort of hung around the sort of season. You've been involved here with the stadium announcing, and you've kept your hand in there at the Renegades as defensive coordinator, and just for that moment for Steve and Tom to give you a call and get you back in, and it's all come to fruition. Your life is now complete.
Yeah, those 3 year strategies obviously paid off.
We mentioned about long-term planning pre-game, didn't we?
Yeah,
didn't we?
Exactly.
And you've obviously stuck to it, and
my excitement is, I'm hardly
I can
containing
tell.
it.
I can tell.
Yeah.
You're closer to me than any other person has been in the booth. In fact, I'm almost not in the booth anymore.
Yeah.
But joking aside, obviously, it's never nice to see any player go down under injury on the field, and we wish this Revolution player, we unfortunately haven't got a number for at the moment. We wish him all the best.
Yeah, it looked like a lower body injury, but it's hard to tell from up here, even on your screens there. It's difficult to see what they're working on. But again, the medics have to be very cautious at the moment, just to check for concussion protocol. They'll go through that. They'll go through the checks that they need to in order to ensure that the player is safe before they even attempt to move them at all.
So, try and just talk about some other bits and bobs. We've got some
We've got the score coming up on the screen, Matt. Evidently, I called
I called it
game within a game.
To be fair, actually,
Matt 3, Carl 1.
To be fair, I think first of all, thank you, producer Steve, for putting that together. I do like that, but I must say it is 2-1 because I did call one of them after the officials called it. So and I'm sure that will be adjusted. But yes, nevertheless,
doesn't that result in a point being deducted as well because of the cheating?
Well, okay, yes, you can deduct a point to make it 2-1. That's fine by me.
Does that make it 1-1, Matt? I'm sure you.
I would ordinarily say yes,
you bring your calculator?
but because that ineligible receiver was that call.
It was a good call.
I'm having that one. But anyway, interesting. Looking over to the Shropshire sideline there, we can see the French flag flying. The tricolour is flying.
Yeah, well, we know that their offensive coordinator is German, or he was telling me before the game his granddad was German, and got taken as a prisoner of war in England, and that's why Neil ends up in England.
Okay,
yeah, fascinating story. But obviously
indeed,
they have some French connection as well because they're flying that tricolour flag.
Yeah, indeed. And then there you can see on the top left now the graphic is correct, and the I called it stakes. Currently, I'm a little anxious now as to whether or not, because I know how competitive you are, Carl. I know you're not going to let this one lie particularly.
I've got my referee rulebook. I've got my Bafa rulebook open. I'm just flicking through the pages.
So you've learned to read in the last 3 years then? You have been busy. But please do get involved with the show here if you would like to tell us where you're watching, how you're enjoying things. Run through a couple of scores now from the Division 1. We've already been through the Division 1 South, the Steelers against the Jets and the Mustangs against the Falcons. We know that they've been very heavy score lines in favour of those two top of the division teams. Leicester 28-0 at half-time, the Steelers winning 57-0, called at half-time.
That Steelers-Falcons game, is it the Steelers that are winning 57-0? Yeah?
The Steelers, at half-time, that wasn't been called at half-time, that one, yeah.
That Steelers-Falcons game is going to be a good one. But in terms of the Vikings in the North, Div 1 North, whoever goes through, those Vikings have been dominant.
They have indeed.
In that Div 1 North, and that'll be a good matchup. It's often strange in American football, isn't it? Because you don't really get to compare yourself to teams outside of the division until the playoffs, so you don't know where the strength is in terms of the South and the North. But the Vikings certainly dominant there, and I know when we spoke to the Falcons last week, they were saying that's the team really that they've got their eyes on when they come to that playoff.
So into the SFC 1 in the Central, again, some really one-sided affairs. The Sussex Thunder beating the Bristol Apache 42-0. The Solent Thrashers currently ahead of the Ouse Valley Eagles 63-7. And one close game, the Oxford Saints and the Berkshire Renegades 27-20 in the fourth quarter. So that one could go either way. Another close one in the SFC 1 East, the Cambridgeshire Cats 25-21 ahead of the hometown London Hornets in the third. Going down into Division 2, the NFC 2 North, Aberdeen Roughnecks 7-0 ahead of the Clyde Valley Blackhawks. And walkover for the Dumfries Hunters as the West Coast Trojans cannot complete that fixture. In the NFC 2 Central, 6-6 between the Chester Romans and the Halton Spartans. That's a full time.
Just watching a replay now of that injury to number 69. That is Lee Eagleton, who we've seen go off the field. It's difficult even from the replay to see exactly what happened, but the game is going to restart with Lee off the field, so we hope he's okay.
So here we go then. Nottingham still with possession, 2nd and 7 as Denning picks the ball up. He looks to his left and the ball is in and out of the hands, a little bit behind Holmes. Can't make the reception and it will be third down.
Yeah, again, tipping that ball in the air was the linebacker there, number 44, who is Josh Wright. Wasn't close enough to make a play, but you want to try and avoid having that ball tipped in the air with those defenders converging on the football.
So third and relatively long, 3rd and 7, anything above 5 yards really is classed as long yardage to convert, particularly when your offence isn't overly... Oh, and Sally Denning did have his man that time.
It's Naylor again off the edge, the left-hand side this time. They're bringing him from all over the place.
Great name for a defensive end, Naylor.
Yeah. And he lives up to that name. He nailed the quarterback last week, and he certainly nailed him this week.
Denning slow to get up after that one. It will be 4th down now. Winfield and the special teams unit comes back onto the field for Nottingham. Once again, there's a bit of a flat feel here around Harvey Haddon. There's a There's a spattering of fans in the crowd once again, but unfortunately, due to the way the season's gone, it's not quite the draw that American football once was in this stadium back in the 80s, early 90s, when I used to come down and watch the Hoods. Get my first taste of American football in the UK, when the boom period of the NFL on Channel 4. And
false start, mate.
Yes, you can have that.
Thank you.
You can have that. That
Thank
is
you very much, gentlemen.
2-2. Yes, I thought that
Full
was.
stop. Number 13, offence. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
To be fair, I thought that was a little obvious to call, if I'm honest. So
Let's update the score.
you can have that as a gimme. So 4th and 12 now. Winfield standing in his own end zone to punt this one away. Let's see if he has a similar amount of time that the Revolution punter had, or whether or not he has to get this one off a little quicker. It's a good time. It's not a good kick that time from Jack. The only bonus is it's going to take a Nottingham bounce, and Smith decides to field it, and he goes straight past the first man, and he's pushed out of bounds just over midfield at the 41-yard line of the Caesars.
Yeah, frustrating for the coverage team. They had good coverage on there, 2 guys converting. You want them really to pursue to that near side hip and converge on the runner so that they can't make that gain. But Chris Smith managing to find some space to his right-hand side and just managed to get about a 10-yard return.
As that ball slides off Winfield's foot. I say, fortunately, does have the momentum to take that Nottingham bounce. And here come the Revolution again, just across midfield, and if they could score before half-time once again, that would be a real tough road back for the Caesars. Because unfortunately, as much as they've moved the ball, they haven't really liked punching it in yet.
They were back to live on 1st down.
So Wake drops back, he pings the ball over, and he's got Smith again, and Smith on another hook pattern picks up a 1st down before he's shepherded out of bounds by Hardwick. But again, that little hook play proving profitable for that connection.
Yeah, and what can you do as a defence? Well, if Hardwick has to play off, you can drop a linebacker into that zone, at least drop a linebacker into that into that passing lane of the quarterback, so it's making it a little bit difficult for that pass reception to be made. But at the moment, Chris Smith having his way. He's not a big receiver, but he's got good feet and good awareness, and at the moment he's making the difference for this Shropshire team with a 6-0 lead.
And the visitors look more likely the next to score than the home outfit at this moment in time. But as you say, maybe getting into the second half, maybe Nottingham can go to their greater numbers on the roster and make a difference. But if Shropshire can go a couple in front as the ball is swung out to Phillips on the left-hand side there, and Phillips steps past one man and picks up close to a 1st down. And looking at the signal from the official, it will be a 1st down.
Yeah, it's a nice little play with the defensive cornerback. They're playing about 7 yards off the receiver, and it's just like an extended handoff, enabling Mark Phillips to run in space, and he runs for 11 yards on the 1st down.
So I'm hearing now that the production crew are in on our I called it game. I didn't know there was a flag that we hadn't called, but apparently it's 2-2-1.
We should both be deducted points just for missing a penalty entirely.
To be fair, they're sat there doing nothing, so they can see everything, whereas we're having to call this one as Wake drops back again. He goes up top, he looks for a man, he's got Hardwick who intercepts in the end zone, and Hardwick decides quite wisely to take a knee, and that is, with no flags on the field, that is the first turnover of the afternoon, and it's Rob Hardwick, and that ball unfortunately didn't seem to be in the vicinity of any Revolution player.
Oh, this is Hardwick getting his own back, isn't it? I mean, and Wake goes to Smith just one too many times on this drive. We can see he's got good protection here, not much pressure, and then he just misthrows the ball, and Hardwick's the first to react. Maybe he was trying to get Naylor, who's playing receiver now as well. You notice Naylor actually forcing Hardwick to the ground there. So Naylor playing defensive end, playing receiver, and they're punters, so all over the field.
So on comes this Caesars offence once more, and what appeared to be a real positive end to the first half for the Revolution could go the other way. Well, let's see what happens here. Chris Peacock runs straight out to that far sideline and sets his receiver stance. That same formation once again, 2 receivers either side, and only playing with 1 man deep. And it is Holmes up the middle on first down.
Again, they do that Brady-esque type fake the shotgun snap, just snap it straight to John Holmes that time. He picks up 4 yards.
A little more success. I say they literally do have that one high safety, so it is man-to-man coverage on the outside if Denning can get either Peacock or Johns isolated.
Yeah, James Derry playing that safety position, that one high safety.
So 2nd and 6 Nottingham.
Lot of defensive linemen on the line that time. It looks like
false start Nottingham.
Yeah. Well, let's see if the defense drew them off.
You're going defensive offside, I'll go false start. Here we go.
This defense. Judging by the replay.
Here we go. Let's listen to our official for the afternoon.
Prior to the snap, neutral zone infraction, 99 white, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
You boys calling it over there. You can't be. You have your own little battle. You have your own little battle there. Carl's got that one definitely. I'm magnanimous enough to
let's
update
update the
that.
scores.
Carl is now currently 3-2 ahead. Production company, do your own thing, but it brings up a 2nd and short for Nottingham. Keeps this drive as Patterson comes in motion, and this time the ball is fake to Patterson, and he's got a man over the middle, and that man in space. He gets out in front of the linebackers, and he picks up good yardage into Shropshire territory for a first down.
That's 42, but we don't have him on our roster, which is frustrating for us. He's made a number of plays now. We'll try and get a name for you at halftime for you. But Denning lofting that ball off over the defensive line, and number 42 straight into his hands. So Alistair is going to be frustrated with that one, who's obviously man-on-man marking him. He manages to recover and drag him down.
And just like that, Denning goes down the sideline. This one is picked off this time, and it's picked off for the 2nd turnover of the game, the 1st for the Revolution, and it's that man, James Derry, who you mentioned not more than 3 or 4 minutes ago.
Yeah, that single high safety, and if you've got one that can run sideline to sideline like that, if you're going to go deep, then there's always the danger that the safety can make up that ground. That's exactly what Derry did on that play.
That ball, unfortunately, not close enough to the sideline, not far enough downfield, and an easy pick for Derry. So here comes Shropshire once again.
Yeah, it's a shame that just some a good play by the Caesars, just snuffed out by Derry's sideline to sideline pass coverage there. And they're playing that safety just like a robber. Everyone else covered underneath, and then that number 24 can just sit back there, read the quarterback's eyes, and go to the ball.
So first down, Shropshire, close to midfield once again. Not long to go in this second period here in the sun in Nottingham. It's around about 27 degrees as Smith goes in motion on the jet sweep, and the lateral pursuit is good, and he just turns the corner but doesn't pick up any yardage on that one.
That's a good play by Kieran Matthews chasing down that number 3. We know he's got good speed. Chris Smith. He had an opportunity to actually turn the ball up the field, and Kieran Matthews obviously sealing the edge, trying to force him to come back upfield, but when he doesn't, Kieran's got enough speed to chase him out, and that's a loss of 1.
So 2nd and 11 for the Revolution. See if they can get anything going before the half. They would love to, just to get that little cushion to almost negate a little bit of the heavy legs that they will experience in that second half.
You can see now just on the screen, you can see how far the defensive backs are playing off these receivers.
The ball is handed off up the middle, and it's that big man, David Trevor. David Trevor picks up positive yardage, but he's brought down after a pickup of 3.
It looked like a little shovel pass, didn't it? It was almost like a forward handoff. Of course, if that hits the dirt, that's just an incomplete pass. So I suppose the risk is low when you're handing off to a big man like
Time out
77.
For the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes left in the half.
So there we are. At the 2-minute warning here in Nottingham, we have a score of Shropshire 6 and the Caesars 0. We'd love to hear from you if you're watching this one anywhere around the country. In the past, we have had international viewers, and obviously this time of year, there's more likely to be more of you overseas. So if you are watching from some sunny location or some cold location or just down the road, let us know. Get in touch. Use that hashtag #NotVersusShra. as third down is upcoming for the Revolution. Trevor just hitches to the left-hand side of Wake. And at times it's snapped beautifully, does that linebacker, and the ball is popped into the air, and that is almost intercepted, but instead it's caught. Great concentration by Phillips, and Phillips is still on his feet, down to the 20, and what an incredible play and great concentration by the Shropshire receiver.
Yeah, I mean, that play started with great pressure from Andrew Wilkins, linebacker, up the middle, so Wake had to get the ball up into the air early. He does so. You'll just see it here where Wilkins times his blitz to perfection. Just as the ball snapped, he hits the gap. That puts Wake under pressure immediately. He has to get the ball off. He does so. The ball's tipped, almost picked off. But that man, Mark Phillips, and Chris Smith, both of them fighting over the ball. Mark says, "Thank you very much, I'll have that one," and off to the races. And it was Ashley Matthews that had to track all the way back from his middle linebacker spot to make the saving tackle on the touchdown. So, great play for Shropshire.
That's Shropshire.
Timeout for Shropshire as they think about what do we do after that.
Second timeout of the period for the Revolution, and that's when you talk about momentum shifts. There's a momentum change then. That could have been fractionally away from being picked off, and a third turnover in a matter of minutes. But instead, the tip drill, not often practiced by receivers, it must be said, but the tip drill comes to fruition there, and Phillips is the benefactor.
Just goes to show when you've got two teams playing. I mean, both teams played well on that snap of the ball, and it's a game of inches, Matt. I mean, anything can happen on any given play, and that was one of those random occurrences you don't see very often. But Mark Phillips keeping the play alive and staying aware.
I wondered at one point whether or not, as Phillips made that reception and he had his back to a defender, whether he would let Smith have it, since he was the man who was facing the right direction. That would have been an interesting little wrinkle on that play as well. But
well, neither of them are very big, are they? But 23 looks slightly bigger than Smith, so probably just a little bit more arm strength snatching that ball away. Thank you very much.
So, big first down coming, under 2 minutes to play in this one. One timeout left for the Revolution. 3 timeouts still for the Burgundy Fire. Let's see if Wake can complete this drive, as there have been a number of drives on both sides of the ball, both offences, that have gained significant yardage, looked like they had a lot of potential, and then just failed to provide an end product. So Wake in the backfield with David Trevor alongside him. Those two receivers, Hope and Smith, to the right. Two receivers to the left, to the top of your screen as you look. And Wake and Wilkins comes there. That's the delay this time as Wake hands the ball off to Trevor, and Trevor picks up 3 yards. And it looks like Wilkins is remaining down, and that left arm of his is on the floor, and from where I'm standing it doesn't look like it's attached to his body.
Yeah, that'll be a shame if Wilkins has picked up an injury there. He's obviously had to chase the running back down from behind as he comes on that B-gap blitz again, but the running back runs away from him. He turns back upfield to try and make the tackle, and reaching for a big man like that, you can just see that...
in fact, it's not Wilkins, actually.
Yeah, it's not Wilkins.
Wilkins has bypassed that.
It's one of the defensive linemen.
Yeah, it is. But like you say, anytime you're reaching for it, and whether it's reaching to come off a block or whatever else it might be, there's an opportunity to wrench a shoulder. See if we can catch who it is.
Yeah, it's an off the ball. It's just the tackle in the end, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It
is.
It looks like number 73 from Shropshire has had his way there with the defensive lineman, and he's come off worse in that one.
So, coming to the end of the half here, I tell you what, we're coming to the end of July, and NFL's not far around the corner. You're very optimistic for your Bears this season?
I am, yeah. They've had a good off-season, new head coach, some new energy. It's got a good offensive mind, Bill Nagy. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. What do you say to 49ers?
Well,
Garoppolo, I'm unbeaten so far?
Absolutely. I'm perennially optimistic. I don't know. There's the hype of Garoppolo, and he no doubt is an upgrade to the quarterback that we had and the quarterback room that we had. But nevertheless, it's very similar to Kaepernick a few years back. First season, the defenses didn't really know how to handle him, and obviously defensive coordinators and NFL defenses catch up quick. And if you're a one-trick pony, then your one trick is soon sniffed out, and you become mediocre again. I think Garoppolo's one redeeming feature is how quickly he releases the ball. But Richard Sherman has been documented as saying even he's been able to identify certain tells for Garoppolo, but we'll see. Shanahan there and Lynch are building the supporting cast, and I'm sure they'll be better than they were last year, but it's a long process. So anyway, second down as Wake goes to the air, and he's got a man over the middle, and he completes the ball, and it's that man Phillips with an easy score on the seam. Nobody challenging him, and that doubles the Shropshire lead.
Yeah, the Caesars will be really disappointed with that coming towards the end of the half. They just go play action to David Trevor, that number 77. You'll see the play here. So Wake goes. Mark Phillips runs the post pattern, and Wake delivers the ball perfectly just into the waiting arms of Mark Phillips with the defensive back, number 13 there, Mark Martin, not able to compete for the ball.
I'll tell you what, when you mention about the fact that inside the red zone, inside the 20, the field becomes more compact, it didn't appear so there.
Well, you still got to defend, and you still got to get close to be able to compete for the ball in the air, and the defender was just not close enough to Mark Phillips. We know he's got good speed.
So currently 12-0. Shropshire looking to add the extra deuce as Wake comes up top, and that ball is snatched out of Hardwick's hands, and that's that man again, Naylor. Size, strength, height, and just nothing that Hardwick could do about that one.
Yeah, it's fade pattern straight to the corner of the end zone, isn't it? And Naylor goes up and snatches it out of the air. I mean, he's obviously a great athlete, Naylor. We've seen him last week and this week all over the field, and this time just snatching the ball out of the waiting arms of Rob Hardwick. And Rob in good position to make a play there, just stronger and taller. I think you're right, that jump ball, and they both timed the jump relatively well as well, but Naylor is the successful recipient of that Wake pass. So coming close to half-time, can only be a matter of seconds left now. The Shropshire Revolution in a very commanding position, 14-0 ahead of the Nottingham Caesars. I very nearly said Nottingham Panthers then. Of course, the Nottingham Panthers are feeling a bit warm. Oh, you want some ice?
I need some ice around me. I do. Hoping that the catering booth at half-time will be able to remedy that. But no, Panthers just about to kick off their season as well. I know one of our former Nottingham Caesars players and colleagues, friends, Darren Frew, always follows the Panthers very closely, and he's been out in Europe watching some of their recent fixtures. This time the ball is picked up, and it's Peacock, I believe, if I've got that number correct. Is it 80? It's 87. It's Danny Johns, in fact, on the return.
So yeah, not much of a kick there. Number 44 is kicking for Shropshire, and it was a kick to the first up back, so it didn't really get too far downfield. It also didn't give a lot of time for the coverage team because it wasn't a very high kick. Absolutely. So straight to the returner, and that's going to result in a good return.
So Nottingham do have a chance. You'd think that they're going to go to the air because it'd be vital really for them to put something on the board before half-time. 14-0 in this battle of mid-table mediocrity, shall we say. Currently Nottingham on the wrong end of this one. Let's see what Denning and the offence can do on this latest encounter as Holmes gets a big hole, and Holmes picks up first down yardage and more. And when I said surely they need... and the ball popped out, and I didn't hear a whistle. Now he is whistled down, but that was very close. I thought I didn't hear a whistle before that ball squirted out from Holmes, but they're now saying that one was dead. Let's have a look at this. We won't hear a whistle on the replay, but...
Yeah, he rips through the hole. Some really nice double team blocking on that big tackle, number 70 there. And then...
Timeout, Nottingham.
Shropshire rally to the ball. Holmes still on his feet, still driving. Don't see a knee go down.
Well, now he's down there. Yes, he is down, and then the ball. Indeed, he does end up sitting down, so that's probably the right call there from the officials in the end. But Nottingham do have an opportunity. Apologies, our official has left his mic on during his discussions.
47 seconds to go. Very polite from the Nottingham Caesars.
And very polite from the official to keep us updated with the timing. So 47 ticks on the clock left for Nottingham to try and reduce the Shropshire lead. Denning once again, this time fakes the handoff, he's under pressure and that ball is out, and it is still out, and it is still loose, and nobody seems to want it, and it's eventually picked up by Kazim, and Kazim down the sideline into Nottingham territory, close to the 20-yard line, but there is a flag on the play.
It's that man again, Naylor, isn't it? Nailed his quarterback once more, ball comes free, and then Kazim picks up and Denning has to make the saving tackle. Let's see what this penalty is. Crucial play here for both teams, but if the Caesars lose this field position right at the death of the half with about 40 seconds left, give Shropshire an opportunity to put another one on the board before they go in.
What are you calling here?
After the fumble and during a subsequent return, illegal block in the back, number 8, Shropshire. They keep the ball after penalty, first down.
So they keep the ball. We didn't get a call in there early enough, did we? We really must play our game to a higher standard.
I was about to say block in the back on the return.
Yeah, sure you were. Yeah.
I love the contempt. I love the fact you know me well enough to just have that level of contempt, and it'd be okay, in all fairness. So here we go then. Shropshire get another lifeline. 50 yards away from pay dirt, 52 yards away from pay dirt.
That penalty could have saved them right there, because without the 10-yard penalty, they have great field position almost in the red zone.
But we know with that Wake to Smith combination, we know Shropshire have the ability to strike from distance, and you can see Hardwick is giving Smith a good 11-yard cushion, not wanting to give up anything else at the end of this first half, and Wake is looking this way, and there's that hook pattern, and it's just over Smith's head this time.
Yeah, we said that the Caesars have to do something to block Naylor, and it's just becoming more and more apparent as this game goes on. He's going to continue to wreak havoc until they sort that side of the line out for the Caesars. So, you know, we would have hoped the Caesars would be able to snatch a score towards the end of this half, but it's going Shropshire's way currently.
So 2nd and 10 after the incomplete pass, and obviously the clock stops as well. We'll obviously take a break at half-time just to rehydrate a little bit, and we're ready for us to go again in the second half. But please do get in touch if you can, if you're wanting to let us know who you're supporting, what you're thinking of the game, any predictions for a second half. There's that Not versus Shra hashtag there. We'd love to hear from you.
So Shropshire take a knee on that one, and that will bring up the end of the half, Matt.
Indeed it will. So in what was a close game majority of that first half, it now realistically, with the way that both offenses have been moving the ball, you'd say that a 14-point lead may well be significant going into this second half.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be a tight game to start, and there was just that one score. It was 6-0, and it was looking, well, you know, the Caesars have an opportunity to bring a score back. Well, with that second score to Mark Phillips on the post pattern, you just hope now the Caesars are going to have to come out quickly and get a score in the second half if they're going to make this game competitive. But the key thing for that offense is going to be stopping that man, number 12, Adam Naylor, from having the impact that he's been enabled to have in the first half.
It's Naylor on the defence, and it's Smith and Wake on the offence. I think they're your keys.
Smith and Wright,
they're your keys. But anyway, here in Nottingham we have a half-time score of the hometown Caesar 0 and the visiting Revolution. Welcome back to this glorious July afternoon here at Harvey Haddon Stadium in Nottingham. The second half, as for the first, I'm joined by Mr. Carl Walkinshaw, the one, the only Mr. Carl Walkinshaw. Hi again, Carl. Enjoy your hot dog?
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, did you enjoy yours?
I did. It was very nice. Double hot dog.
Yeah, you owe me £1.
Okay, that will be the winnings as a result of the I called it.
Let's see how we go.
So I'm Matt Walker, joined by Carl Walkinshaw for this afternoon's game. We've got a 14-0 scoreline at the present time. Speaking to a number of Caesars coaches at the half, particularly Coach Messam a little frustrated with the way things have gone, particularly that second score, having gone in late to the half-time interval. We'll see what the hometown team can muster in this second half as the heat will continue to punish both sides, but mainly maybe the Shropshire team, who do have significantly less on that sideline to choose from. What do you reckon, Carl? Can you see Nottingham coming back into this one?
Caesars need an early score if they're going to make it happen. They need an early score to get right back into a one-score game. Otherwise, Shropshire threaten to have this one run away. But the key for the Caesars is going to get this Adam Naylor stopped on the offence and get something moving longer than, when they get into the red zone, they need to find a way to score.
So here we go, second half action underway, and the ball is bobbled by Naylor at his own 5-yard line, and he's snagged by 3 Caesars. Just out to the 10-yard line. They struggled to get into the ground, actually, but...
Yeah, that's good coverage, because Naylor clearly was bobbling it and picks it up late, and the coverage guys are there, and that's what you would hope. We do have an injured player on the field for the Nottingham Caesars, so we'll check what this injury is, but at the moment it's a injury timeout on the field.
So there's that return again, and Naylor's got loads of time actually as he bobbles that kickoff, and doesn't end up being too disastrous for the Revolution, other than they're going to find themselves pinned back inside their own 20-yard line.
Yeah, he thought he had lots of time, then the coverage team were on him quickly, and they tackle him within the 20-yard line. They're just checking this injury on the far side of the field. Just to your right of your screen there, you can see a cluster of Nottingham Caesars, and that's where the injury is. Not sure who it was that went down, but somebody took a whack on the kick return. So you're trying to put in a block. So this half getting off to a slow start.
It will be first down Shropshire when we return. Hopefully you've continued to join our coverage here in Nottingham. Temperature is, it's got to be close to 28, 29 degrees down on the field.
Shout out to Darren Chown as well, who's in hospital at the moment. Darren normally plays offensive line number 73, tweeted in during half-time. So we're sending love to Darren and hoping he's feeling better after a serious infection that saw his legs swell up. And I'm told it swelled up to 4 times its normal size.
My days. And I tell you what, that's not a small leg anyway.
It's not a small leg.
Even before it's swollen up 4 times.
Yeah.
So goodness me. Well, we wish... here he is. Here's your man, look. Chown 73 cheering on the Caesars from my hospital bed. Great job, Matt and Carl, on the commentary. That's very kind of you, Darren. And let's go see. We wish you all the best in your recovery, as Carl mentioned. So here we go then. Second half action can finally get underway as that Caesars injury has been tended to. And Wake still in at quarterback with David Trevor alongside him, and trips to the right this time. One receiver to the left, trips to the wide side of the field. And in the middle of those 3 receivers is that man, Chris Smith, who was so prolific in the first half. Trevor gets the first carry of the second half, and he busts through the offensive line, and he takes it 15, 16 yards down the field for an immediate Shropshire first down. Impressive start.
Yeah, disappointing for the Caesars there. They're coming fresh with fresh legs from half-time and not able to bring Trevor down on that one. He's a big load to bring to the ground. If he gets up a head of steam as he does there, he gets a decent block, and he's really untouched until he's 10 yards downfield, And then it's going to take more than one man to bring him to the ground. Just keeps those legs churning.
So, first down, Shropshire. After that barreling run from David Trevor, number 77. Finding some success early on in this second half. And just what Nottingham don't want, this Shropshire offensive machine begins to roll. Switch back to the original formation now, that twins either side as Wake drops back to pass. And there's that little hook again to Smith, and Smith picks the ball up and picks up 8 yards. In fact, it's not Smith that time, my mistake. It's
Mark Phillips, yeah.
It is Mr. Phillips, number 23. But again, another little hook play, hitch play, call it what you will.
If the corners keep playing this far off, then Mark Phillips is going to be able to run. They're all running hooks. 7 yards off, play these defensive backs, these cornerbacks. It just enables a receiver to run, 6 yards downfield, turn, get the ball, and then make some extra yards with his feet. So brings up 2nd and 3.
Interestingly, we found out at half-time that alongside Brian Yates, who's our referee for this afternoon, a long-time official in the game, as the ball is handed off to Trevor once again, and he's stopped pretty much immediately. That's a good defensive stop that time. Yeah, alongside our referee Brian Yates, we have a crew who have joined us all the way from Dubai this afternoon. So they're part of the Emirates American Football League, EAFL.com, if you're interested in looking up what goes on out there. We've got Chris McRae, who's our umpire. He heralds from Montana in the US. We've got back judge Mark Simon from Dallas. We've got line judge Tim Brown all the way from Philadelphia. And the head judge, Andrew Binns, who is English-born, British-born, but plies his trade of officiating out in Dubai. So they've come over here and they're enjoying the cool temperatures, as they've stated, that we're currently experiencing. And there's a flag, and that will be defensive offside encroachment as Wake pops the ball up and it's intercepted. Although it looks like simultaneous possession, and if that is the case, then that could well go in favour of Smith. And another flag comes out, and a third flag. So I'm having the initial flag for the defensive encroachment. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's unsportsmanlike. But the second flag that came in, the third and fourth flag that came in. So we have an interior blitz from the Nottingham Caesars. As we run this footage for you, there's the encroachment.
Indeed. As France have just taken the lead in the World Cup final, but nevertheless.
So if you were wanting to watch the game after this one, apologies to as Matt continues to update.
No, the World Cup Pétanque final.
Pétanque, yes.
Pétanque final.
So much going on around the world of sport.
Is there another World Cup on today?
Thank you.
No, the Pétanque final. Those metal bowls from France. But yes, here's that simultaneous possession. Let's see then, and I think then Matthews comes in there, and the Matthews lead with his head. That's what that flag's for right there.
Yeah, unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yes, okay, you can have that one. That's fine. That takes the score to 3-3, and then there's another one there, I think.
In fact, it turns into a bit of a mugging, doesn't it, towards the end of that play, with players just piling into each other to try and protect that football.
Dead ball, offside. Defence, 5-yard penalty, brings up a first down. Subsequently, a dead ball, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Defence for a further 15 yards, automatic first down.
Well, it was unnecessary roughness. You could hear Ashley Matthews on the audio there saying, I need an explanation. Well, we've got one up here in the booth.
You basically led with your helmet, my friend, into another player's helmet. Off the ball. So, yeah, that's always going to be called. And there it is. I like that scoreline at the top of the screen a little bit more than I like the scoreline at the bottom of the screen. 3-3 in the I Called It stakes. But a big pick-up there, not only with the defensive encroachment penalty, but also the personal foul penalty. So Shropshire in business on the Nottingham 25-yard line. Interesting that we have that officiating crew from the Emirates AFL, the EAFL, all the way out there in Dubai.
Yeah, and so far doing a good job.
So Wake surveys the field once again on first down. There's two receivers either side once again. Smith, the near side of the field, closest to us, and Wake pops the ball out to the left, and that's caught by the man we mentioned a couple of times in the first half, Ashley Holgate, number 82.
Yeah, Caesar's doing better that time to rally to the football. You can see playing slightly closer to that slot. They're just trying that little screen pass out to the slot receiver, and the defensive back does a good job to rally to the ball and get some assistance from teammates. Second and about 8.
So it is 2nd and 8, quite right. Shropshire knocking on the door once again, and you feel that should they find the end zone again here, this would be almost a impossible situation for the Caesars to overturn.
Yeah, it's a critical set of downs now for the defence. They really need to find a way to get this ball.
So here goes Wake and that offence as the Caesars defence threaten again, and there's pressure this time. Another screen pass, and that screen is dropped, intended for David Trevor. And it looked like it was, number one, well sniffed out by the Caesars defence, but then it looked as though that Shropshire offence may be able to get some positivity from it.
I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? Number 77 doesn't look like a running back. Maybe it's just because he's wearing number 77, but they've run him with the ball. They've used him as a blocker. Now they're trying to use him as a pass catcher out of the backfield on the screen pass. So he makes a block, and then Wake just trying to dump it to 77, and it doesn't seem to get anywhere near him. He is an eligible receiver despite that number. So interesting the way they're using him and not using any other running backs in the backfield.
Brings up 3rd down and 8 for the Revolution. Well, there's a little delay at the moment over that far side. There's a flag now being dropped, and that flag is going to be against the Revolution. Do you want to guess before he tells us?
Illegal substitution.
Yes, you can have it. I saw the signal. Let's see. See whether or not they elect to decline. Bring it up 3rd down.
Illegal touching of a forward pass. Number 77. That penalty will be declined. 3rd down.
You can't have illegal substitution even though you got half of the penalty right. The illegal part was correct.
The thing is, you said it was correct.
I did.
So
I misread.
that is a point.
I misread the official signal.
If you get it wrong and I get it wrong, sure, that's a point to me.
And it remains 3-3, which is the correct.
Okay, the producer has spoken.
Indeed. Got to earn your stripes, Mr. Walkinshaw. So 3rd down, as the penalty is declined by the Caesars defence, which brings up 3rd down, and Rush comes off the edge. He has a man over the middle again, and it's caught close to the goal line, but I think tackled just short. And that's Phillips once again.
Mark Phillips, yes, again. Right, that is the same play. It's the post play, and they've run it again close to the goal line. Decent pressure, but Wake staying strong. Waits for his receiver to come open and just lofts that ball into the path of Mark Phillips.
I must say, a lovely touch pass there over the top of the outstretched defender's arm. It's 1st and goal now from the 2-yard line.
Now, they have big David Trevor in the backfield here. Is this just the handoff straight up the middle? Or are they going to try the play action, which is what they've been going with? Caesars in a press formation on the right-hand side to this trips at the bottom of your screen.
Indeed, and it doesn't appear, though. Is Naylor on the field there? Because that jump ball worked earlier on the 2-point conversion, but I can't see number 12 out there at the moment. And indeed, you'd think if you were going to run that play, you'd isolate him one-on-one somewhere. There are trips to the bottom of the screen here, and the ball is handed off to Trevor, and Trevor's stopped immediately, and that's great. That's Andrew Wilkins in there. It's Baby
Kieran
Bash, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Baby Bash. Kieran Matthews making a great play on the goal line.
Great penetration through that offensive line, and Trevor couldn't really get anything going at all.
There was an audible there from the quarterback. You could just see him point to the ground, which obviously means that he wants to hand that ball off quickly. You can see here just as they run it, he points down to the ground, snaps the ball, and it is a handoff. But Trevor just not having that speed enough to get him any momentum going as he moves towards that offensive line. And therefore Kieran Matthews, even though potentially a smaller guy, Kieran Matthews with good leverage and makes the tackle to bring him down. So it's a loss of yardage and a good start to what we hope from a Caesars perspective will be a goal line stand.
So we've got a brief injury timeout here as the Caesar player is assisted from the field. A little bit about the Revolution. They were founded in 2006. And they entered into the league in 2008. Previously promoted to Division 1 for the 2012 and 2015 seasons, but they only had one win in 8 of those seasons. Last year, the Revolution went undefeated in Div 2, 13-0, and won the North final against Glasgow. Glasgow Tigers 31-7. They set their goals very high with a bowl appearance last year and were successful. Despite the promotion and a new standard of opposition, we kept this mantra in place to remind us of the work that they knew they put in during that bowl run. And that is now always going to be the case in the higher leagues. So 2017 undefeated Division 2 crown, and their biggest success and what they're most proud of is being able to compete with the larger cities and catchment areas and their relatively small population, and that's by developing players rather than coaches that they already have. So a little bit more about Shropshire shortly, as Tom Henley is in at quarterback for the Nottingham outfit. Tom Henley, former... Oh, sorry, I'm looking all over the place. Shropshire still got the ball, and that's a good defensive pursuit as Holgate goes laterally, and there is a flag out there, and that flag generally is going to come out for holding.
Yeah, it was a good play to the right-hand side for the Nottingham Caesars there. They defended that well. This is the second play of this goal line stand. On the first play of the game, they drove the runner back, and on this one, there's good force there by player number 13, and
personal foul.
Number 82 has nowhere to go.
Number 38, defence.
So this
distance to goal. Automatic first down.
See, what I'm doing now is I'm seeing flags and I'm clutching at straws trying to guess early and then getting these calls wrong, and actually on the replay it was quite obvious that there was a face mask penalty there, which will bring up an automatic first down for the Revolution.
Yeah, that's unlucky on Rob Hardwick. Again, he's not having the greatest game he's ever had. He's got a pick, but he's going to give them half distance to the goal line, and they get another set of first downs. So the goal line stand. Now, if the Caesars are going to hold on to some hope of getting back into this game, they really need to step up as a defensive unit and shut this down. We've got two running backs in the backfield now, with David Stevens looking for that in that blocking position.
And from what we've seen so far, you do really fancy the Shropshire to go in on at least one of these four. As Holgate gets the ball. Oh, that's a great tackle. Incredible tackle there by Andrew Wilkins. Met his man, and Holgate's really felt that. Met his man at the line of scrimmage in the hole, stood him up, perfect form tackle, and that is known as a goal line stand on first down.
Yeah, that's the sort of play that's going to get you excited, Matt.
Even me
comes firing through, sees the play clearly.
You can see there, bang. Right underneath the face mask, right underneath. And even though Andrew is the taller player there, like you said earlier in the first half, low man wins.
Yeah, and Andrew Wilkins doesn't half bring a load. He's a great hitter. And that's what you need from... If the Caesars are going to have any chance to come back in this game, that's exactly the sort of play you need from their defence. Just got to protect this goal line here. Going 3 scores down is not an option for this defence currently.
Absolutely not. So second and goal though, and hopefully they'll be buoyed by that defensive effort from Wilkins.
Still only second down because of that penalty, so it would have been third down, and you're looking at a field goal if they hadn't have had that penalty, because they have been able to stuff these running plays. Shropshire not gone to the air yet where they've had success, so maybe on this down they're going to look to go to the air. Naylor
is in the game now. He's playing tight end on this right hand side nearest to us. Smith on the outside, Phillips at the top of your screen, or to the left of your screen actually as you look, and then there's number 84 just in the slot there, Kieran Baxter. And once again the ball handed off, and Trevor again, man, this Nottingham defensive front now is really stepping up, and the ball has popped out and there's no whistle, and I think Andrew Wilkins has recovered. And what a turn of events that is.
What a fantastic play by the Nottingham defence there, and Andrew Wilkins specifically bringing that ball back. That is exactly what this team needed. And again, the Shropshire, you have to question the call, because they've had no success running the ball with David Trevor. They've had far better success on the fades going to the end zone or the post passes. And yet they call a run on 4 consecutive downs. It's stuffed every time. And then the Caesars come with the big turnover to hold and give their offence the ball back.
Let's see when that ball comes out. He's still up on his feet and the ball is out. That's a definite turnover. Definite turnover. Good play from the officials not to call that one dead. The body of momentum was still driving forward, and Nottingham get their second turnover of the afternoon. Now, we are into the third period significantly, so if they're going to make anything happen, you'd think this was the drive for it to do so. And now, Earlier on, I called Tom Henley in at quarterback. I was obviously preempting things because Tom Henley is in at quarterback, hands the ball off on first down, and that doesn't go anywhere for John Holmes that time.
Well, the Shropshire defence has been doing their own thing. You know, they've been playing good football as well, and they're showing it there. The handoff to John Holmes goes for -2. So this Nottingham Caesars offence have got to find a way to move the ball.
So yeah, Tom Henley, product of the junior setup here. First year playing in the seniors. He's currently out with the Birmingham Lions University American football team. Obviously had been training hard over there during the off-season and has had little cameos in fits and starts this season for Nottingham. He's already thrown a touchdown this season to Jack Winfield. So Simon Denning, I know, is as much as he'd be disappointed not playing, he's very, very up for Tom gaining experience and developing his comfort, if you like, behind that offensive line. Not a stereotypical shape for a quarterback. I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning that. He's a good lad. He's a good lad.
Yeah, he is. In the times when he's come onto the field, I don't think he's... I can't remember whether he scored a touchdown yet. I don't think he has. Maybe he has. So, you know, he's done well in terms of managing the game. And we wish him well today. We certainly would like to see the Caesars get a score and make this game competitive towards the in the third and the fourth quarter. This is an interesting one because Shropshire defensive line were moving all over the place.
On the play, the movement in question was legal.
So no flag on the play. That's why I didn't call that flag, you see. So technically, because I didn't call it, that's a point. We can have a point each, to be fair.
Well, I don't think either of us
Producer,
called it,
we have a point each because neither of us said anything. What was that, Alex? So 2nd and 11 after the...
They're bringing
first
pressure.
of all, is that
all
big
three
blitz coming. Tom's put that ball up and he's looking for Johns straight down the sideline and trying to get that ball away early. One thing he did do was he didn't put it short, which at least meant that the DB couldn't catch up with it either. And incidentally, that DB is James Wildsmith covering Danny Johns.
Caesars on their 5-yard line, so Shropshire defence can smell blood and potential safety. They brought 3 blitzers that time. Tom's smart enough to know, well, I don't want to hang about here. Just lofts the ball up, tries for his receiver, and if the receiver's not open, then it's no harm done. But it is 3rd and 12.
So 3rd and 12 upcoming, as you mentioned, for Nottingham. A 3 and out here would be very damaging once again, really, because it would mean Winfield would be kicking away, and as good as his boot has been this season, it may well put them in a bit of pressure, and Henley overthrows his intended receiver, and that time it is Rich Thomas. Rich Thomas, number 42. We managed to get that name for you at half-time. Notts County assistant manager.
Yeah, Rich Thomas had a good game so far, but that was nowhere near him. He was in double coverage and just no chance to make that play at all on 3rd down. So Tom really throwing that ball up, more of a wish and a prayer than anything in reality.
Winfield comes on, kicking, literally leaning against the protective padding on the upright. So he'll do well to get this one away. And to be fair, a lot of respect being shown by Chris Smith, who's standing back at his own 30-yard line. More likely to go to that up back. It was Joe Knight. The ball is away, and actually it goes over Knight's head, and it's going to take a bounce. It's going to bounce towards Smith, and Smith thinks about leaving it and then decides to pick it up. And he's spins away from one man to his left. He still stays in play, and he remains in play, and he's pushed out eventually by Kieran Matthews. And it turns out to be a relatively successful kick for the Caesars.
Yeah, and I don't understand the thinking from Chris Smith there not to come and catch that ball, take it early and get a run on. Why wait? It's showing disrespect to the coverage team, and I think Kieran Matthews, when he arrived, showed equal disrespect by just shoving him out of bounds and saying, "You're not going to try that one, sunshine."
So, first down, Shropshire. Very quiet around Harvey Haddon Stadium. Obviously the heat may be getting to people here in the stands as well as those people down on the field. Now if Nottingham could secure a turnover here, then that may well put them in business to try and cut this deficit. But
the more Shropshire have the ball, the more the chances of the Caesars coming back into this game dwindle away.
And there's a quick substitution there for Nottingham as Tony Willis gets off the field. Ooh, that ball intended that time for Phillips is just in front of him, out of his reach. Bring up 2nd and 10. I think, particularly for both teams, this is very much a sort of can't think of the word I'm looking for, but a perfect representation, we'll say, of their season. Flashes of brilliance, but then no consistency.
Yeah, and you had that goal line stand from the Caesars, and then the turnover. Four great runs stopped dead in their tracks, and then we get the ball back, and the Caesars can't move the ball downfield. Interesting point at which to substitute Tom Henley in at that point. I mean, again, they hand the ball off here to Trevor, and he's really made no inroads running the ball at all.
And that's Kieran Matthews that time again. Fantastic penetration through that offensive line, and you heard the hit all the way from up here.
Yeah, he's a good tackler, Kieran. If he gets hold of you, he's going to bring you down. Another NTU graduate.
Timeout called. Oh, that actually not timeout called. That's the end of the 3rd period. So the end of the 3rd period here at Harvey Haddon is the Nottingham Caesars 0 and the Shropshire Revolution 14.
Well, you can see the strategy of Shropshire, aren't you? They're handing the ball off to David Trevor and just trying to keep hold of the football and trying to run this clock down, which they've successfully done. The 3rd quarter, particularly short quarter compared with the 1st and 2nd half, when there was more throwing of the football and therefore running the clock down less.
Interesting, as part of the media pack that we put out to the teams, the MVPs for last season, that 2017 undefeated season, the MVPs are quoted as being Alex Wake and Mark Phillips, and we can understand why, as a little bit of cloud cover descends over Nottingham, and that'll be very welcome for all sets of players and coaches alike down there.
The Caesars have got to get this team off the field now. It's 3rd and 13. This is an opportunity now to get your offence back onto the field. So the Caesars hopefully should have a package where they're ready for this down. This is absolutely critical down now at the beginning of this 4th quarter.
I don't know if you remember earlier in the season, Nottingham faced a 3rd and 58 and gave up a touchdown. As Wake goes over the top looking for Smith, and it's just 3-4 yards out of Smith's grasp. But that intention was there again. It did look that time, though, however, that Hardwick had some safety help as well.
Yeah, I remember that 3rd and 50 against Leicester when it was Joe Brammer, wasn't it?
It was.
Threw it deep, and I was commentating in the booth with, not in the booth, in the stadium with
Darren
Fletcher.
Absolutely.
And it was astounding to see that one go for a touchdown. But not to be for Shropshire. Smith has got good speed, but not fast enough to get on the end of that one. And he was in. I mean, there was decent coverage. He was double teamed at the point at which the ball was thrown. 4th down and close to midfield. See what they do here, Shropshire. Whether they just try and keep this ball alive. It looks like they are going to punt with Adam Naylor dropping back into that punt position.
Hardwick it is, back deep to return. Bring you some score updates following this play from around the Britball Nation. On 4th and 13. That's a high punt, and Naylor with his skill that he has, and actually that could turn out in his favour because his kick coverage team are way down the field, and Hardwick won't be returning this one. And as it turns out, it bounces inside the 15 to the 14, where Nottingham will take over, and even a bit of a drama there for Naylor works out in the Revolution's favour.
Well, if you've got a normal punter back there and that snap comes high like that, it's straight over his head, and Caesar's bearing down on the football, but Naylor's got such great athletic ability. We've already seen his vertical leap, and he was able to tip it, control it, no pressure from the Caesars, and then drive it downfield. And it ends up being a fantastic punt, and Caesars taking over on their 14-yard line.
So notable scores from elsewhere around the country. The Yorkshire Rams beat the Leeds Bobcats 67-0 in the NFC 1 North. The Olympians beat the Bristol Aztecs 35-10 in the Premiership South. And Merseyside Nighthawks and the Edinburgh Wolves playing out a close one. It's a second quarter score of 14-10 to the Nighthawks. Leicester in the fourth quarter against Doncaster. Doncaster have got on the board against the Falcons, but the Falcons easily cruising. 40-6 is the current score line in Doncaster. So here we go, first down for Henley and the Caesars, and Henley receives the snap and the ball's popped out to the side. That's a nice pass on the run, rolling the wrong way, throwing back across his body for Tom, and he hits his man for a first down.
Yeah, he did well there, Tom. It was a bad snap, as you said, Matt, and so he had to field the snap first of all, rolls to his right, and manages to hit Charlie Patterson for that first down. So good play from young Tom there.
But not only hit him, but hit him in stride. Patterson's able to continue his run towards the sideline, and the ball is placed perfectly by Henley. Henley very much a student of the game. I know when he was with the juniors last year, he was an integral part not only in as a quarterback, as the player, but he from a coaching point of view as well. He's a man who is beyond his years in terms of the way he reads and studies, and so only can be an asset really. As he drops back again, he rolls to his right and he zips the ball out. He's got Patterson again. Patterson grabs and picks up once again 5-6 yards, and Nottingham could be having something going on this drive.
Yeah, they've clearly tried to work out a strategy to cope with the blitzes from this defensive line, and particularly Adam Naylor, and that strategy so far seems to be to roll out and get the quarterback in a position where he's got more of an opportunity to make a play. And Tom seems to have that ability, the ability to roll. He's rolled to his left, he's rolled to his right, and he's completed both times to Patterson.
Don't know if you noticed there, but we had an extra from Jurassic Park on the far sideline there on the down marker. You can see there it looks very much like Richard Attenborough, who was in the original Jurassic Park. Might be able to get a shot of that, and that's offside by the defence, which will be another score on my flag count. There he is. There's Richard, look, fresh from...
Offside. Unabated to quarterback number 67. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Doing a sterling job, although I think that walking stick's a bit tall for him.
Yeah, he's looking good, isn't he, Richard?
He is looking good, yeah, he is. He maybe thinks that...
fresh from Safari, he's come to the right place.
He's handling that down marker like a pneumatic drill now, look. But anyway... Nevertheless, please add that offside to my count, please, Mr. Matthews. That would be wonderful. So, 2nd and 2 after the completion to Patterson. And then, he loves it. I tell you what, Tom Henley loves a little rat rumble. Little quarterback sneak up the middle. The rat rumble made famous here at Harvey Haddon by Gary Stainton back in the day when the Nottingham Hoods used to play. Gary Stainton, another sort of unorthodox quarterback who most quarterbacks like to avoid contact, but not Gary.
Well, he's not doing badly if Tom manages to live up to... He's wearing shirt number 1, which is the same shirt that Gary wore.
He is indeed, and that's a very brave man to wear that. But again, picks up a first down there for Nottingham. Oh, I love it, look. There we go. Read it in Weep, Cole.
Yep, very good. You distracted me with the Attenborough skit, and then you come in with a quick...
It's almost like I've got a game plan.
Call. Yeah.
It's almost like I've got a game plan.
Good strategy, Matt. I'm on to you, mate.
Come on.
I'm on to you.
Only one eye works, but it's like an eagle. 1st and 10. Oh, it's a high snap, and Tom's going to have to drop on that. And all the good work is undone in an instant, as Nottingham will lose nearly 20 yards on that snap over the top of his head.
Yeah, we had an injury earlier, number 55. That was Tamar Nazir came off the field from the offensive line, and he's still on the sideline. I don't know whether they've had to shuffle players around, but that was a poor snap from the centre. And that's just put him into... 2nd and 25 situation, as you say, Matt.
Well, we knew last week Sean Endicott, who again is involved with the coaching on the juniors and has done some camera work for us here at Onside, and I believe has been involved with NTU as well, is Sean?
Yeah, he played for NTU as an offensive lineman, so he's been around a while again, but he didn't start playing until he came to NTU, interestingly, even though he's American. He's
American, and I know he played centre last week, and I think he may well be taking the reins this time as... That's beautifully done by Henley, and he's at the 30, the 20, the 10, the 5, and he's in for the score, and that's number 36 for Nottingham, unfortunately, and this is horrendous. We do not have a name for number 36 for the Caesars.
So he makes the play of the game, and we can't give him a shout out, but that was fantastic.
Hey,
Tom Henley,
what a pass that is.
Absolutely spectacular on that one. 2nd and 25, and throws the ball. Just a beautiful spiral lofted, lovely, with great timing, straight into the receiver's arms.
Hit him in stride, didn't break his stride at all, full speed. And look at that, we've got the back end of the play, and as usual, our replay official hasn't caught the best part of the play. Former producer Tom Howe has missed. Oh, we have got it. Here we go. Look, here we go. I know I could rely. And look at just watching Tom.
Under great pressure as well.
And I tell you what, that's all arm strength. He didn't step into that.
No.
All arm strength.
Off his back foot. But the extra point is blocked as we're back live. That goes nowhere. So it's just 6 for Nottingham. But Tom Henley comes on the field and makes a difference immediately, and that's exactly what the Caesars needed. We have a game, Matt.
We
Hopefully,
do.
We've got the fourth quarter, a bit more of the fourth quarter to go, and we have a game.
From 2nd and 26, they end up going 70 yards for a spectacular score, and one that, all being well, will lift them. And as we've mentioned, the heat can only be having detrimental effects on that minimal Shropshire bench, so who knows what can happen from here. We are in the fourth quarter, but now the job turned to the Caesars defence to see if they can get a quick 3 and out or better.
Shropshire are trying to run the clock out with this running back, but they're having no success with it, either on the end around or handing the ball off to number 77, David Trevor. If they continue that strategy, then it will be a 3 and out, and the Caesars should get the ball back. However, they have had success through the air, and if they go to the air again, they've done well with Wright and Smith.
Interesting. Winfield not on for this kickoff. Usually takes all the kicking duties, does Winfield. I can see him just on the sideline here. It's Danny Johns who's going to be striking this one.
Onside kick, Matt? Too early?
I don't know. I think too early, particularly with the way that, like you said, that Shropshire offensive demonstrated they can. That's a good kick though, but Naylor is going to have it in his hands, and Naylor, we've already seen, is a danger man all around the park, and he jogs, then puts his foot down, and he remains on his feet, and he's still on his feet fighting through Caesar players, and he gets over the 45 into Caesar's territory, and Shropshire are set again.
Yeah, that's a classic example of out-kicking your coverage. You got Adam Naylor there. If you kick the ball so quickly down the field, your coverage guys just don't have time to mount any kind of resistance to that return. Adam Naylor making it look easy up the sideline there, and nearly broke it all the way for a touchdown, which really would have put the nail in the coffin, if you'll excuse the pun.
So, I love puns like that, especially when they're intentional. So first down, Shropshire. Nottingham, obviously from a home perspective, need a stop. Shropshire, one more score, it will be game over. Let's see which team want this more. Who wants to finish third in this NFC 1 North as Phillips goes in motion? And Phillips doesn't receive the ball, but Trevor does. And as you say, this is definitely a case of keep that Nottingham offense off the field. Let's run the play the clock down.
Yeah, and if they keep doing this, might be an idea for the Nottingham Caesars to use their timeouts early just to save the clock, get the ball back. But they're having no success with David Trevor running the football.
Not at all, not at all. So a timeout. Looks like it's a drinks. Is it an injury timeout? Waiting for the paramedics, it appears to be, yeah. So at this point, we'll ask you once again if you'd like to get in touch with the show. We've obviously got a little bit of time left in this one, but not a massive amount. But use that Twitter hashtag of Not versus Shrew.
Are you going to give us the pétanque score then, Matt?
Oh, the World Cup pétanque score is now 4-3 to France. World Cup pétanque is 4-3 to France. World Cup pétanque is 4-3 to France. Pétanque. Okay, so just to keep all you pétanque fans up with what's going on with the metal ball game.
Good work, Vicky Davis. It's like World of Sport here, isn't it?
Love a game of pétanque. You ever played pétanque?
I have played pétanque actually when I went to France. Funnily enough,
really? Yeah. on the gravel sort of court with a nice little stubby beer in your hand.
Yeah, and the silver balls
and the wooden jack.
You can't beat it actually with a few beers under the sun as the sun goes down.
Absolutely. Makes it a bit difficult when the sun's gone down.
Good memories though.
Absolutely. Yeah. Depends how many stubby beers you've had. So here we go again after that official's timeout. Shropshire will face 2nd and 10. 2nd and 10 inside the Nottingham half. Convention would suggest that Trevor will be the recipient of this ball again if that Shropshire game plan is to take ticks off the clock, although
Caesar's coming with the blitz.
Trips to the left and he swings the ball out to Phillips. It's a little bubble screen and he gets around his first man. That's a good positive play. It's going to be enough, I think, for a first down by the looks of things.
It's a good play call by Shropshire because Caesar's wanting to come with the pressure to try and get the ball back, and just loft. You can see the amount of Caesars in the middle of the field there. Ashley Matthews drops back and has to track all the way again from his middle linebacker position to make the stop on Mark Phillips. But that's smart play calling by Shropshire to keep this drive going and run that clock.
So, first down Shropshire, now inside the 35-yard line of the Caesars. Indeed, this is a battle for the middle of the table. There's the Sandwell Steelers and the Leicester Falcons are the definite front runners, and they will square off on Saturday evening, Saturday the 21st of July in Leicester. 6 o'clock kickoff, and on-side productions will be there to cover that one, which should be an absolute corker as Trevor gets the ball again. What a tackle again for Andrew Wilkins. Gets low and stops him in his tracks, but Trevor does pick up 5 yards on that play.
Yeah, kind of fell forward, didn't he, for more yards there. Wilkins right down by his ankles there and looks to lift him, and I think he then gave up. And Trevor able to stumble forwards for a couple of additional yards. Clock running and time running out for these Caesars.
And that time, as you say, there seems to be a lot of space there at the middle for Trevor.
It was the pulling guards on that one, the trap play up the middle there, and some good blocking in that interior offensive line.
So second down now. Second and 6, and Wake drops back, and there's that hitch play again, and he's got Smith, and it's been dropped actually. Unusual error from Smith. He's been very sure-handed all day, but I think just turned to look upfield before he secured that ball that time.
Yeah, Hardwick kicking himself because he thought he might have got the pick on this. We watch it back on slow motion. It's slightly still in the air as Hardwick arrives. And I think he would like to think he might have got an opportunity to just go in and pick that ball up.
And he was very close. And then who knows where Hardwick could have ended up. Yeah, look at him coming up there, and an opportunity missed. Because obviously if Nottingham do score again, they have to go for 2 to get a tie on the board. So 3rd and 5 now upcoming. See if this Caesars defence can remain strong as Wake drops back again. He's going over the top. He's looking for Phillips. Phillips has caught it. What a grab. What a grab. Steals it off his man, and that will be that. Not enough time now for the Caesars to come back, and an athletic grab from Phillips. Steals it off the defender and waltzes in for 6 more.
Yeah, we've seen that from Naylor. Now we see it from Phillips, just out jumping the defender to the football and just snatching it out of the air. Quarterback just throwing it up in the vicinity of the receiver, and they've just been more athletic today. They've just out-muscled the defensive back. You can see it's in his hands, number 27. It's in his hands, Sam Booth. And he can't hold on to it as Wright just goes over the top. I'll have that. Thank you very much. Snatches the football. 6 points.
And that is disappointing. So Nottingham's hopes of a 5-5 regular season are literally hanging by a thread at the moment. The revolution is being televised. And the extra point is very similar to Naylor's last extra point down the other end of the field. He goes up above Hardwick, climbs the ladder, and comes down with the ball for 2 more, and then levels his quarterback at the end.
Why not? Why not? There's only 1 game left in the season. You've always wanted to do it. Why not level your quarterback because you score the extra 2 points?
There's that height advantage once again.
Yeah, I mean, if it's working, why change it? It's up to the defence to find a way to make the adjustment and stop these fades and jump balls. We're going for touchdowns and points, and they haven't been able to do that today, and that's made a big difference. 3 scores coming off jump balls.
22-6. Our scoreline here in Nottingham in the dying embers of this NFC 1 South clash.
Do we have a pun score as well?
Nah, hands down. If we've got a punch score.
What with
Surely.
the
Well, the Revolution
the
worth
Revolution.
at least 10.
1 point per pun?
In that case, it's 1-1 for your nail.
Producer now scrabbling around trying to find multiple
No, he's
graphics.
not. He's not bothering. We know him better than that.
Yeah.
He'll be
He
proud.
said, "Look."
He'll be proud of his "I've called it" graphic. He'll live off that for weeks. So here we go. Hardwick on the return, and this time he's looking for room. He bounces to the left, bounces around the left side, and he's got a little bit of space, but then he's met by James Wildsmith.
Yeah, a lot of yards running for not a lot of yards up the field, but Rob Hardwick trying to find anything now to bring it back to a manageable scoreline towards the end of this game, a scoreline from which the Caesars can at least have a shot. But to no avail. Good coverage there from Shropshire. Well, we might see some fireworks from Henley, because that's all really the Caesars can hope for now, is that Henley hits another quick one down the field.
Well, he's like you say, he's proved that he is more than capable, and he has receivers. Obviously, unfortunately, we're still without a name for number 36. And if anybody's out there watching, and that's your man, I'm genuinely sorry that we can't give him a shout out on air at the moment. But we know Chris Peacock has speed, Charlie Patterson has speed. So Henley does have the arm, and he drops back and he looks to his left, and and that's going to be let off the hook. That's Joe Knight, who had glory all over that one, and he just can't bring it in.
Yeah, I was thinking about the score, wasn't he, before he'd even secured the football on this one. Just, you can see him at the top of your screen tracking back, and Tom, that's you've got to take some risks, but Joe not able to hold on to that one.
So second down Henley after that let off. See if Henley can bounce back from that near interception.
They've had some success going to 42 this tight end. Let's see if they can free him up.
And there you are, good call. Do you know what? You can add one to the score for that. You can have that. Call in that play. Call in 42's number. That's Rich Thomas before he's even got the ball there. Big pickup of 3 inches.
That's very generous of you, Matt. Yeah, I get a point, but he only gets a couple of inches on that play, which is not the way they wrote it up. So it's going to remain 3rd and 10.
And I suppose what we are going to see is definitely going for this on 4th down. It is more than likely beyond them now, this one.
Critical 3rd down. Shropshire in press formation to the bottom of your screen. Bring the blitz.
Nice catch by Peacock over the middle. And Peacock gets close to a 1st down. I tell you what, Peacock has got a very nice pair of soft hands. That ball is, sometimes you can even hear the ball hitting hands from up here, but he makes very clean catches, doesn't use his body. You like to see that from a receiver, so that they're not risking that ball bouncing off the shoulder pads.
Yeah, it brings up a manageable 4th down.
So
Caesar's trying to just keep this drive alive now.
Let's see whether or not Nottingham can convert on 4th and short. Last time they had this situation.
Everyone on the line of scrimmage for Shropshire.
Oh no, Tom. That's not going anywhere, and I think that was as a result. Oh, and the whistle unfortunately was blown as number 54 for Nottingham, David George, his eyes lit up where he thought that he'd got that ball in his grasp and was scooting away.
David George living every offensive lineman's dream there as he comes away with the football from the pile.
Let's see actually how he did manage to get that in his grasp. There he is. So Tom is in there, and then David goes in and just looks like saying, "Go on, Tom. Go on. Let's just push the pile forward. This is it's a maul. It's a maul. There you are. The ball's come out the back of the maul. I think that was just how Coach Mason wrote it up.
David, look at him high-stepping down the field there. It's just, such a disappointment when you realise, actually, you're not going to get anything from that. Beautiful running form, though, I thought, from David.
Indeed. I think they are discussing now, though, whether or not the whistle was inadvertent. Yeah, the offence, Ashley Matthews and the defence are coming off, and the offence look like they're staying on, so I think they're going to repeat fourth down, I think would be what's happening here. And if that is the case, I will add another on to the I called it stakes. VAR. Get ready to add another score onto Walker's tally, please, gentlemen. So here's the play again, look. I think what they're discussing is the fact that the whistle was inadvertent because the play actually hadn't finished. Obviously, they can't let George take the yardage, but what they'll do is allow them to replay. There he is, into the runner. And immediately George is in there. The forward motion has stopped. He's being driven backwards. And then George has the ball there. That's an interesting one. Let's listen to the call from the official.
We have an inadvertent whistle. It was blown early. By rule, we'll replay the down, fourth down.
I think I used the words inadvertent whistle. I'd tally that out. Alex is the cameraman. Cameraman's nodding. That could be the difference between the I called it stakes this afternoon, Cole.
Can we verify that? Can we have an instant replay of Matt saying?
We don't have it. We don't have audio instant replay. Do we have audio instant replay? Have you found it? I have confirmation, though, that we do have audio replay of the inadvertent comment. So here's fourth down again. Henley flips to Thomas, and Thomas catches, but that's a great defensive play by the Shropshire Revolution. And the result of the play is similar to the result of the last one, and Shropshire will take over on downs.
Yeah, it looks like Rich Thomas is just running that play too flat. There's no point. You're running it at the line of scrimmage. It's just going to end up with no gain if you get tackled. You have to run at least to the first down marker, which is only a yard and a half, 2 yards away.
Absolutely.
So disappointing for Henley, who makes the completion, does everything he needs to do, but receiver just not where he needs to be.
I must say one thing I love about doing this role, this job, if you like, is not only working with yourself and getting the opportunity to work with brickball legends such as yourself, but also seeing guys from the brickball community who are still playing football around the country who have started their career in Nottingham. And Ben Harris is sat not too far away from me. It's good to see him. He's playing out with the Lincolnshire Bombers at the moment.
Yeah.
So good to catch up with him, and he did make the point that he listens to Onside quite regularly and gets a little bit fed up of hearing about Will Hobbs, former teammate of Ben's, and did point out that in the first season they played together, Ben did get MVP for the season over Will Hobbs. So I've just got to make sure that we give Ben that credit there as Wake pitches the ball to Phillips, and Phillips on the jet sweep goes round for a first down and more. He's on his feet at the 25-yard line before he's dragged to the floor. So yes, credit where credit's due. It is official. It can be officially reported that Ben Harris is a better football player than Will Hobbs.
Very good. It's nice of you to say so after so many years. Definitely, Hobbs has got preferential treatment for years, and you're addressing that right here and now, Matt.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to admit my mistake. Having said that, Will Hobbs has kept in touch with me and Ben hasn't. So so it's Ben's fault ultimately for not keeping in touch with his old coach. So first down,
very fair.
First down, Shropshire knocking on the door again, and if they could put another 8 on the board here and take that score to 30, that would be a significant statement, really. And like you say, even though their offensive coordinator at the beginning of the game was saying they were looking for 2 and 8, this will end up putting them at 5 and 3, and he steps off the back foot, and that's pass interference all day long. Pass interference on the flags, another one on my tally.
Oh, really? You're going to claim that? I think that just comes from being the play-by-play commentator. You get a chance to speak first.
Okay.
We'll just scrap that one.
Okay.
Producer, please.
I'll accept that.
Let's apply the rules.
I'll accept that.
Game. But defensive back 101. Look for the ball.
Pass interference. Number 45 defense. 15 yards previous spot. Automatic first down.
Alex Armstrong, the guilty party, and if you ever want a blatant pass interference, pass interference, there's one right there.
Came sliding in.
Pass interference.
Yeah, they're going to call that every time. You've got to look for the football.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you, it wasn't the best pass from Wake, that one. It was underthrown, which meant Phillips had to stop.
Well, a lot of them haven't been, have they? I mean, Wake's just been putting it out for the receivers to pick them out of the air. Maybe the defensive backs, well, I've got a better chance if I just run straight into him.
So first and goal, in fact, inside the 10-yard line. You wouldn't bet against Wake and the offence putting another one on this beleaguered Nottingham defence now, and actually the attritional heat has not been a factor as we thought it might be. Wake drops back, he's got loads of time, rolls and just throws this one into the dirt at about the 6-yard line.
Yeah, it's a good point, Matt. I thought that Shropshire were going to suffer from, the heat and having to play both ways. We've seen a number of players playing different positions, and they've just played a strong game throughout. They've been strong all the way through this fourth quarter where they've scored again. So Nottingham Caesars now playing for pride and trying to keep this Shropshire team out of the end zone towards the close of this game.
Absolutely, and I think Shropshire will be very buoyed, and I think out of the two teams you've got to say that the building blocks, the foundations for the Shropshire team seem to be a little more stable than that of the Nottingham outfit. Wake looks like a very useful quarterback. They've obviously got the skill position there with Smith out wide. And there's a fumble, just to say that. And just as the ball has fallen for the Revolution for most of the day, it just sits on the floor for Trevor to pick up. And
yeah, it was just there begging, wasn't it? It was just sitting up. Come on, Caesar, somebody grab me, take me through, take me to the end zone, make this, competitive again. And it just kind of rolled around until David Stevens kind of trundled over and picks it up. So the Caesars just can't get a break towards the end of this game.
Well, as I was saying, with Naylor in there on both sides of the ball and Smith out wide and Wake looking effective and Phillips in there, they've got a number of pieces there that they can definitely build around. The offensive line has looked satisfactory, could you say? It's not been a disaster, but obviously Wilkins and that defensive line have been dominant against the run, if nothing else.
Yeah, and we know they're carrying a lot of injuries, Shropshire, in this game, so presumably running back's one of those. David Stevens in the backfield, not particularly effective as a runner, but he's done his job.
David Trevor,
I'm sorry. They've done everything they've asked him.
Wake drops back again, and Ashley Matthews has 3 bites of the cherry and falls incomplete. And Smith is slow to get up at the back of the end zone and looks in some discomfort there, actually, number 3 for the Revolution. That would be a shame if his afternoon was to end with an injury.
He's up on his feet, which is good to see.
Not at the moment. He's not. Smith isn't. Number 3.
Oh, this is the receiver for Shropshire.
Sorry, yeah. Well, he is now up on his feet, but he does look in some. Well, now he's down again. So yeah, not a good sign at all. We'll try and wrap up a few scores around the country whilst we are waiting for this injury timeout in these latter stages of the game here at Harvey Haddon in Nottingham. 3 minutes 9 seconds remaining. I've just overheard our referee rather.
Sam, you good, yeah? Is that going?
On the ref's mic. Let's have a look around the country then. So that Tamworth have dispatched the Titans 56-13. Northumberland Vikings, who you mentioned earlier, 56-0 winners against the Gateshead Senators. The Yorkshire Rams, they're the top 2 teams in that division, 67-0 victors over the Leeds Bobcats. Full time in Doncaster, the Leicester Falcons in this same division. Leicester Falcons 46-6 winners against the Doncaster Mustangs. Game called at half time in Sandwell as the Steelers rolled over the Coventry Jets 57-0. The notable scores from the afternoon in the Division 1 North. Division 1 South, Solent Thrashers 63-7. As the play gets back underway, it's 4th down for the Revolution, looking to add one more score to their already impressive victory this afternoon. As Wake drops back, he looks to his right, pops the ball up into the air, and there's that man coming back. It's caught in the end zone. It's Phillips once again, and it's the 4th touchdown of the afternoon for the visiting Shropshire Revolution. Wow.
Phillips seems to have glue on his hands. I mean, he just can't drop anything today. He's caught stuff out of the air that's been tipped. He's caught stuff at the post. He's caught stuff deep on a hook, and now he's caught that with the coverage man all over his back, and he just snatches it out of the air and holds it to his body for the 6 points. Great play by him.
And that's the 4th passing touchdown of the afternoon for Wake. All touchdowns obviously have come through the air this afternoon. As we've mentioned that the one area that Shropshire have struggled is with their running game. So 4 passing touchdowns on the afternoon for Wake, and that's no mean feat by anyone's stretch. So going for 2 to take the score up to 30 if this is successful, and that
Jack.
Holgate is on the sweep, and Holgate turns, and that's good. And that's good to see that they're not giving up this Nottingham team. That would have been easy for them just to let Holgate waltz in there, but still a little bit of passion there on that defensive side of the ball. So the score remains the Nottingham Caesars 6 and the Shropshire Revolution 28.
Yeah, it's good pursuit here to the sideline. Initially I thought I was going to go in, and then the pursuit catches the man at the 1 yard line and drops him for no score. Nice flip, and then running around the edge, and there's the tackle there. So it's good pursuit to that edge, and the Caesars have shown some good speed. Running game not being particularly effective for Shropshire, but they haven't needed it. They've been so effective through the air, just catching everything that Wake has put up there.
And here's a touchdown once again as Wake just pings that ball. And again, it's a lofted ball. It's not a sort of what I call on a rope, and the defender did have a chance to try and disrupt that pass, but as you say, Phillips' hands like glue today. So we're not at the 2-minute warning just yet, so a little bit more to endure for the Caesars, and unfortunately now at 28-6 down, they do have to endure these last moments of the game. What's, in your opinion, where do the Caesars go from here? Obviously they've got one more game away against Doncaster, but what do they need to do next year? What's the most important? Obviously I know you do coach, but if you were looking at the Caesars as a whole, what's priority to improve?
Well, priority is consistency, I think, and a consistency of a unit that's played together over a period of time. What Shropshire have come here today and just shown that what they had in Division 2 they can bring into Division 1, and they've had consistent quarterback, they've had consistent receivers. You know, they have running backs that were in the team last year. They've got GB linebackers, and whilst there's some consistency on the defence, the offensive side of the football for the Caesars, there's been changes this year. Denning's been brought in, Charlie Patterson's come back, and those players have not had a chance to play together for any length of time. And that's why I think you've seen that inconsistency both at offensive line as well. So for me it's about having a group of players, a core group of players that are committed over time, that you can build and grow with, and then get to the point where you're able to compete with the likes of Leicester, with the likes of Sandwell, and even today with the likes of Shropshire. Shropshire clearly the better team on this day.
I think at the beginning of the season, the hope was, obviously it was 6-0 in that first outing in Shropshire, and I think Nottingham were very much thinking, well, that's the very first time we've played this year, therefore it's a pre-season game and we will be better when we meet them again. Now, obviously, Shropshire have been better again, and as I think is that David, no, it's not Rich Thomas, I couldn't see the number there, we'll get that for you in a minute. For me, the future at the moment for the Revolution is a little brighter than that for the Caesars.
Yeah, and you want a team to progress as the season goes on. Teams should get better as the season goes on. And what we know is about
officials timeout. 2-minute warning. 2 minutes left in the game.
What we saw with the Caesars last year is they got off to a good start and then kind of fell away. This year they go off to an 0-2 start. They don't win their game till week 3. But as the season progresses, you want a team to grow together, and for whatever reason that hasn't happened this year with the Caesars. They haven't progressed effectively. The same team that they were at the start of the season. Whereas Shropshire, you feel, have grown.
Absolutely. So 2nd and 6 upcoming for Henley in the offence. John Home. Oh, and that's a false start. Oh, I don't know how that hasn't been called, but nevertheless. Henley drops, and there's that pass again out to Thomas. Thomas unable to haul that one in, and Henley's just having to get rid of this ball really quickly at the moment now. And
I saw a flinch from the wide receiver twice there on the offensive line. Neither one was called by the referees.
Running back as well. Running back definitely hitched forward now. He looked to have been set before that, but nevertheless, maybe there's a little bit of sympathy for the Nottingham outfit. No one to rub salt into the wound. 28-6 down. I would have liked it to have been called though, because it would have given me a chance to increase my lead out to 2 at least. But nevertheless, I
mean, if you call it wrong, Matt, shouldn't we be taking points off? It should work both ways.
It should really, yeah. But you and I both know that wasn't called wrong. It just wasn't seen by the official. So Henley drops back to pass. He's got Thomas down the middle, and it's intercepted again. And that this time is James Derry, and James Derry is on his feet and then tries to make a cut and slips at the 40-yard line. But I think that will pretty much do it, as you would have thought now that Shropshire will come out and take a knee for the last couple of minutes. I know Nottingham have timeouts in the bag, but...
Naylor with good pressure again, and then the receiver's just not had a chance to get downfield. He was trying to go to Rich Thomas, who's been trying to get tight end, and he's had some success with that. But this roaming safety they have, James Derry, playing sideline, just sat there waiting for the ball, watching the quarterback's eyes, and Henley threw it straight to him.
Mm-hmm.
So disappointing for Henley, but he's trying out there. I mean, he's new this season coming in. He's done well. He scored a great touchdown earlier, and he's trying to put points on the board and make this game competitive in these last 2 minutes. And mistakes will happen when the pressure's on like that.
And it's all experience for him, without a shadow of a doubt. Just being under centre, being out there, and can only be good for him in this new senior environment. So, first down Shropshire. Victory formation almost. Only one receiver there. Phillips out, and Wake is already almost down on one knee before he's even snapped the ball, and there he goes. And I don't think Nottingham will do anything to prolong this one. So the score here at Harvey Haddon in Nottingham is the Nottingham Caesars 6 and the Shropshire Revolution 28. Join us shortly as we'll bring you a brief post-game show down the sideline, but until that point, we'll leave you with this.
Past the full 4 quarters, but they score in the first half, they score in the second half as well, so they clearly had whatever fitness they needed to outlast the Nottingham Caesars today. And the Caesars, other than that one deep throw, really weren't able to mount a threat to this Shropshire Revolution team.
Bright spots for the Shropshire Revolution this afternoon. Definitely quarterback Wake, as we mentioned, throwing 4 touchdowns. They've obviously got your man Naylor there, that's the GB trialist, and then Phillips and the other receiver Smith.
Yeah, I thought I was surprised by how well Smith played. Actually, we didn't see him in the Leicester game, and I don't know whether they brought him on later or he just didn't play in that game. But he was a surprising threat right from the get-go, running those hook patterns and then dummying our cornerback Rob Hardwick, Nottingham Caesars cornerback Rob Hardwick in, and then going deep for that opening touchdown. And they didn't stop from there, did they? They had Mark Phillips, and he just seemed to be able to catch anything that the quarterback threw in his general direction. The Caesars defensive backs really struggled today. Even Rob Hardwick, who was normally talisman, and able to get those interceptions and picks and turnovers for the Caesars, only able to get one today, so disappointing for him.
From the Caesars' point of view, bang goes their 500 season, as it were. Now the best they can do is win 4 games and finish 4-6. Any bright spots that you would, as Coach Warner, take from a Nottingham point of view this afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that their defence played well in times. I think they had a good goal line stand. They're clearly a good defence against the run. They really struggled in the passing game more than you would want them to, and they've struggled all year in the passing game. They need to do something to fix those defensive backs, but defensive line is okay. The strength has always been their linebackers, and they have a really good set, I would say a very high quality set of linebackers there. Defensive line, they need to shore it up a little bit, but they played well in that goal line stand. But defensive back, you would hope that they would make some adjustments, maybe in terms of scheme and in terms of personnel, just to make sure that they can shut these widespread, spread it out, throw the ball around teams.
Well, we mentioned about quarterback Wake, and I believe we're going to be able to bring you some of the highlights from the game a little bit in a short time, just to emphasise the fact that he looked very comfortable. He had loads of time in the pocket. The offensive line, even though they couldn't get the running game going, really did protect him really well.
Yeah, Wake was a good quarterback, and he's clearly cut his teeth in Div 2 last year, and he's coming to Div 1 and he's performed. And it's been good to see, and I think he does have some good weapons there. They're small receivers, but they're highly effective, and they're good in terms of snatching the ball out of the air. We're just looking at a couple of highlights now. You can see that early touchdown to Smith when he just suckered Rob Hardwick in on that. He'd been cut up to this
hitch
point.
And go,
that hitch and go, and again you can see on the screen there the second touchdown.
That was the post to
Phillips.
Phillips, I think. Yeah, the post to Phillips over the middle, and then this next one was Henley's a beautiful pass, hidden his man in stride, and still we haven't got that number 36. Apologies for that, but beautiful pass. And as I said, all arm strength that from Henley. Didn't really have a chance to step up into the pocket, and then his receiver did all the work. Third touchdown of the day for the Steelers came, and unfortunately this was a sort of go up and get it again, wasn't it? Just more athletic.
Yeah, grabbing the ball over the top of the defensive back here, and just rolls to his right, does Wake slightly, and just going up and getting the ball. And they did that all day long, didn't they, in terms of that ability to out-jump their defenders and snatch the ball out of the air. And that makes the job easy for the quarterback, because Wake can just put it in their general vicinity, and out comes the touchdown.
Sure. From a defensive perspective, just because I know that's your side of the ball, as we mentioned already, pick out something on the Caesars defence that you'd be particularly pleased with, and then on the Shropshire team.
I thought the goal line stand and their run defence. Their run defence today was very, very good. Shropshire couldn't run the ball. I think that Shropshire had some problems at depth at running back, which is why they were playing Stevens in that position. But I thought the Nottingham Caesars run defence was very strong.
Is that down to personnel, or is that down to scheme?
They're running a 3-man defensive line with those linebackers roaming at the back. So if those defensive linemen can run some interference, those linebackers will step up and make tackles. You saw excellent hits from Andrew Wilkins. You saw plays in the middle from Ashley Matthews. Ashley Matthews was running sideline to sideline. You saw Kieran Matthews chasing down running backs from behind, showing his speed on the sideline so that they couldn't turn the corner.
Sure.
So that's a good performance from a set of outstanding linebackers.
And from a Shropshire perspective on D, obviously there were a couple of interceptions. Were the standouts? I know Naylor's there applying the pressure, which therefore makes it easier for the DBs to do their job. But
well, I think the player, the safety, number 24, who was running kind of sideline, got 2 picks at the end of the day. Played very well.
Yeah.
And that was good to see. And I thought, Naylor, to make a defensive end effective like Naylor, you have to have good defensive line play in other areas.
Sure.
And so the defensive line was one of their strengths for them today as well. So I would point those two. I think Alistair Jarvis had a good game, although with not a lot to do. Number 42, the linebacker. We weren't running the ball particularly in the middle of the field, or trying to, as we've done before with John Holmes. So it was more for the defensive backs to do in the defensive line, and they did their job very well today.
Sure. So both teams have one fixture remaining in this 2018 campaign. you can see Shropshire finishing out 7-3. I think they've gone to 6-3 today.
Yep.
So you can see Shropshire finishing out 7-3. Can you see Nottingham going to winning that Doncaster game?
I can see them winning it. I mean, I think it depends. The irony is for the season, it depends who shows up week to week.
Sure.
And I mean, if they get the players showing up at defensive and offensive line, then I think that's where the weaknesses are, and that's where they need to step up and really recruit as many players as they can to get them into the team, so that they can then win out over Doncaster. They'll want to win that last game, but they can't go 500. They're going to have a losing season, which is a shame for them. They had a winning season last year.
Absolutely.
And they will be very disappointed with a losing season this year.
Sure. So obviously the front runners in this game are the Leicester Falcons and the Sandwell Steelers, both big winners today again. As I mentioned, we have mentioned through commentary at the beginning of the game, they tee off against each other on Saturday night. Do either defence have enough to slow the opposing offence down from what you've seen so far this season?
It's going to be an interesting one. I think that the Leicester Falcons have the edge on it, and I think they have too many weapons on the ground more than anything. That will be too much for Sandwell in terms of being able to run. If you can run the ball effectively, then you can control the clock and you can control other aspects of the game. You can manage the game.
Sure.
Leicester were very impressive in their run game. Sandwell much more likely to go to the air with Tristan Varney, and they do have weapons in the air. But Leicester have some good defensive backs, so there'll be some key battles on the field.
Excellent.
One is Sandwell's receivers against Leicester Falcons DBs. We'll see how that plays out.
Just looking over your left shoulder, I can see victorious Coach Tonks, if he would like to step in.
Yeah, come in, John.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you. Yeah, congratulations, well done.
Cheers, thanks very much.
What pleased you most about that victory this afternoon?
I think just the composure that the players showed. I mean, it's a warm day.
Yeah.
I think the opportunity to kind of lose your head at times can be there because of obviously the way the game's played, but I was pleased with the way the guys were quite mature and just pounded away, really. Yeah.
We spoke to your offensive coordinator at the beginning of the game on interview, and Carl had a chat with him, and he mentioned that prior to the beginning of the season you'd have been happy with 2-8. You've now got a chance of going 7-3.
Well, I make it 6-4. Forgive me.
No.
Yeah.
Both of us missed that. It is 6-4.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
You're correct, Coach.
Yeah, we're 5-4 today.
Sure.
We've no right to win any game, so we've got to be up for next week at Coventry, which will finish our season off. And if we finish 5-5 or 6-4, either of those surpass the expectations I think we had. I mean, we're always quietly confident, but it's actually being confident and doing it is two different things, aren't they?
Adam Naylor today all over the field, number 12, playing at all sorts of positions, playing punter, playing defensive end, playing receiver, scoring touchdowns. What is his position?
Well, he's just a good football player. I think we're a little bit short on numbers today, so the opportunity for him to fill in and play in positions that he probably wouldn't ordinarily get, as he's taken that opportunity. We've worked obviously a little bit on his height for those end zone plays, for those 2 pointers, and they came off. But I think he can play wherever I ask him to play, which is really good.
And those two receivers today, we were saying earlier, number 3 Smith and number 23 Mark Phillips, who were just fantastic. A couple of really good weapons there for your quarterback Wake.
Yeah, they're quick, and I think that and they're intelligent football players, and I think speed in any sport is a great skill to have. Excuse me. So speed is obviously important, but they both know the game really well, so they know the situation.
From a coach's point of view, and I know you'll only be looking at next week's game rather than looking to the 2019 campaign, but having come in with, I suppose, realistic but not massive expectation from this season, even if you were to lose that one against Coventry and finish 5-5, where do you feel you are moving forward for that 29 campaign? Would it be we're challenging for the title next year, or how do you view things?
I think it's still a consolidation. I think we've got to be realistic. It's difficult to know how the alignments will be, whether they stay the same or whether they change, because obviously they do change. I think we've still got quite a young squad. One of the advantages we had last year was obviously going into Div 1. We knew that we had young guys which we could develop. What we need to do is really encourage new guys to come and add to what we've got, and that will help us greatly.
And finally, from me, talk about your quarterback, Alex Wake. Is that right? Yeah. Obviously, threw 4 TDs on the day. That's no mean feat for any quarterback on any given Sunday. Is he as confident a leader, sort of verbally, as he seems with his skill set?
Yeah, he is. He's a good guy to have around. He commands the offence, and he's steady as well. I think we saw in the first half towards the end there, wasn't happy with what he saw, called a timeout. Yeah. So we could just talk about it, and that's what we need really, is that maturity that he gives as a leader for the team.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, it's been great watching you over the last couple of games, so thanks very much for your time. Congratulations on a great day today, and I don't think Onside Productions may not see you again for Shropshire till next season, so we look forward to that.
Absolutely. But thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the victory.
Cheers.
Thanks very much, Coach.
Take care. Thanks a lot. One thing that strikes me very much about the Shropshire coaching staff is very humble. Not taking anything for granted either way, and I think that, if you like, from those humble beginnings, their opportunity to create greatness is going to be really good for them.
Yeah, keeping together and taking it one game at a time. That's the attitude. It's just good 101 coaching, isn't it? And just making sure that you don't take anything for granted, which is what the coach said. Even going in against Coventry, haven't won a game, haven't been able to field a team a couple of times this season. Still saying, we're not taking anything for granted. We'll go in and play as hard as we play any other game, and that's showing respect to Coventry and to themselves.
Can see Coach Warner over your shoulder, and I know Coach Warner never likes to come back in front of the camera.
Come in, Coach. Come and join us.
Let alone at the end of a defeat. Commiserations, Coach.
Good to see you, Coach.
Don't thank us. Sum up your thoughts overall, good and bad. There were some positives in there, definitely, but obviously maybe the negatives outweighed the positives a little this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, the positives were we got the numbers up for a start. We've had a few guys that have been missing for quite some time. They've turned up, made some plays. We've got new guys who've only put pads on for the first time in the last week, making plays as well. There are always positives to take from it, but like you say, the negatives outweighed the positives this week, unfortunately. So we just got to knuckle down, come midweek, work hard in practice and get ready for Doncaster and close the season on a high note.
What's the motivation now in terms of we can't have a winning season here in Nottingham? What's the motivation going into that last game? How are you going to pick the players up after this loss and really get them galvanised to get a win against Doncaster?
Well, that's a good one. Look, basically we've just got to try and get them excited about the last game. Go out on a high. I don't like to get ahead of myself, but start thinking about next season. Like I say, we've got quite a few guys that have only suited up in the last week or so. We've got quite a few rookies that are up and coming. We've got a couple of guys that brand new to the sport, started a game for the first time this week. So obviously we want to keep them interested, get them excited about next week. Say, look, this is your opportunity to make a few highlights for yourself, put yourself out there for starting next season. Make sure you're pushing for a starting spot on a regular basis.
We have to the old guard: Ashley Matthews, Kieran Matthews, Andrew Wilkins. I mean, defence. Some of the tackles there, and you managed to really suppress the running game, which I think was a bonus. But equally out there, like you mentioned, Chris Peacock made some really great plays from receiver. I know he's brand new and a youngster. We've got to say this: we didn't have his number on the roster. Who was 36? Who scored the TD?
Oh, that's Greg. He's missed training for a while. He was out due to surgery, but he just kind of fell off the radar a little bit, and everyone thought he was just done. But he came back to practice, started making some plays on Wednesday night. Looked really good, and Coach Messam was like, "Who is this guy? You never told me about him." But like I say, he fell off the radar, so we weren't sure whether or not he'd actually finish the season with us. But yeah, he's done well. He's done well in practice before he disappeared. He was laid up for about 8 weeks after surgery, but he's come back looking quite good, looking sharp.
And the throw from Tom Henley on that particular play. I mean, again, when we watch it on the replay, didn't have a chance to step up into the pocket, so it was all arm strength and just put it right on the numbers.
Yeah, it was great. When I initially saw it leave his hand, I was thinking, oh no. But then I saw the trajectory and saw where the DB was lined up. I thought, oh no, he's got this, it's fine. So as soon as Greg made the catch, I thought, yeah, okay, that's first down. I want a little bit more. And I got a little bit excited. But no, it was a great play. Great grab from Greg. Great run. Great score.
Just for the family, Greg. Do you not know? Do you not know? Sorry. we will try and find out before we go off air.
Mysterious Greg.
Just purely because he needs some credit for it. Go on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cole.
No, I was just going to say it's Mysterious Greg. No, well, I mean, Coach is coming to the end of the season now, building into the new year. What sort of things are you thinking about in terms of adjustments for the next season?
We may need to review how we structure practice. We may have to look at recruiting more coaches as well as players. There have been times we've struggled with the coaching side. We should have hopefully a few of the junior players from this year coming up as well. So Obviously we've got to look at retaining them. They may also help out with the juniors as well, so there's a little bit more crossover between the juniors and the seniors, which I think would be nice, because I think we're a bit too segregated at the moment. So we practice on the same night at the same time, but we occasionally warm up together and then we just go our separate ways. If we can get a little bit more crossover and help the juniors, well, let the juniors know that we are interested in how they're doing, we are interested in their progression, and they're not just a bunch of kids who turn up and practice at the other end of the field. So we'll have a number of things that we need to look at.
Yeah, good to be thinking about next season, as well as the Doncaster game coming up. We look forward to seeing you at the Doncaster game. I think it'll be covered by Onside.
No, it's the away game, so
it's an away game, so we won't be able to cover it. So this is actually the last coverage, isn't it?
It is for Nottingham this year. It is, yeah. But thank you ever so much for your time. Never easy, obviously, talking to you when you've obviously had a loss in that column, but magnanimous as ever. So thank you ever so much for your time,
well
Coach.
Done, Coach. Thanks very much for your time.
Take care. Cheers. So, obviously a little despondent, as you might expect. They've been on the wrong end of some quite heavy defeats, and I think this one they targeted as a one in the W column. Yeah,
they would have wanted to after that 6-0 victory. Shropshire was a very close game, and he one score. They would have had that today with Tom Henley's touchdown. But these are small things the Caesars have got to do to make adjustments to get into that winning column in terms of an overall season. And they do need to make some more fundamental changes, maybe, in order to compete with the likes of Leicester and Sandwell. But teams like Doncaster, teams like Shropshire, they should be competing. They should be winning these games. Yeah. And we would look to build on what they've got now.
Absolutely.
And there were some positives, as Coach was saying.
Absolutely. So it's about time for Carl and I to bid you farewell. We've experienced a closer game of late here at Nottingham, with the Caesars losing to 28-6 to the visiting Shropshire Revolution. It's a game, as we mentioned, that Nottingham would have hoped to have won, and their hopes of finishing out the season at 5-5 are now beyond them. But they have one more game to go against Doncaster next week, where they'll hopefully turn over and finish the season on a high. It's my thanks to Carl Walkinshaw. Lovely to have you again on board. It's been brilliant working with you.
Great to commentate with you again, Matt. Thanks everyone for watching.
And thank you at home for watching. Thanks to all the crew here, Steve, Tom, Alex, and all the crew involved with this production. We will see you next Saturday night in Leicester as the table-topping Leicester Falcons take on the second-place Sandwell Steelers in a real grudge match for that Division 1 title. Once again, thanks from me, thanks from Carl. Good night. We'll see you next time.